So welcome into the live stream. I'm Kerry Holzman, and joining me is my niece. Her name is Camille.
Yep, my name is Camille. I am.
Tell us about yourself. Let them know who you. Tell us a little about you.
Okay, I'm Camille Holzman. I mean, kind of obviously the last name, but I'm a college student. I am a third year in college, even though I have the credits of a senior, and I'm a creative writing major. But I also like. Okay, well, either way, I like playing computer games, but right now I've been working with a MacBook Pro, which is not the most conducive to playing games. So I needed something a little bit more powerful, a desktop that would fit in a college dorm as well as be inexpensive enough for a college budget. I do work a little bit of IT, so I have a little bit of knowledge about here's what a hard drive is, here's the difference between mechanical and solid state. But overall, most of this is completely new to me.
So you've never built a computer before. We're going to do that today, and the parts we've selected just turns out to be the very first Ryzen build. It fits your needs and your budget. It just made sense to go with Ryzen on this. I don't know why so many people get excited about AMD versus Intel. The build process is exactly the same. The software install is going to be no different, but this will just emphasize that for people who don't know, and for people, for a reason I don't understand, care. But here we are. And so what we've got is a Ryzen 5 1600. That's the chip we're going to be using with the cooler included. The motherboard is a Gigabyte gaming Wi-Fi. It's a model number AB350N. It's a mini ITX. Because it is a dorm room, the size is really important that we get it reasonably portable and light so that it can be moved, because obviously that's not a permanent residence. And there's, like mentioned, light gaming, schoolwork, and so we're going to have to add a graphics card. One of the reasons I'll use Intel chips is they have built-in graphics, and in a business environment that's perfect need. The Ryzen chips don't have built-in graphics chips in them, so you have to go with a graphics card. And this way it just made sense. So what we did for the graphics card is we went with a ZOTAC 1050 Ti. Now all the parts are listed in the video notes below the video. For storage, we've got a Samsung 500 gig SSD. We've got 8 gigs of Corsair Vengeance LPX RAM, 2 sticks of 4. We've got a Seagate BarraCuda 2 terabyte storage drive, a Thermaltake 750 watt ATX power supply, and we're going to be using a case I don't think you guys have ever seen me use before, because I don't think I've ever used one. This is the Corsair Obsidian Series 250D. It's a mini ITX case, but it's like jumbo shrimp. It's a little bit of an oxymoron in that it's a big mini ITX case. It will take a standard power supply. You don't have to get the small form factor power supplies, which are a little fewer choices. They're a bit more money. I like the convenience. Also, because Camille's never built a computer before, starting your first build with a mini ITX may be discouraging and challenging. She's going to do the work. I'm going to guide her, and this case is going to make it a lot easier of an ITX build because it's a bit larger and easier to work on. There's more room in there to get your hands in there, more room in there for parts. We were going to go with an optical drive, but you changed your mind on that.
Yeah. But
you always have that as an option. You often don't have that as an option on a mini ITX case. Now, one of the things that I do here on my channel is the documentation, the instructions. They're often, let me put it this way, if the instructions were good, I wouldn't need to be making these videos and we wouldn't have people watching them. So when we have the instructions, what I like to do is that. Because that's how worthless they are. Just get rid of them. They're a waste of trees. Obviously, most of that's for entertainment purposes. If the instructions help you, or you can use them to guide you through certain parts of the build that you get stuck at, there's no shame or loss of pride going and looking at the instructions. But I have found downloading a PDF file, usually they're more comprehensive and more detailed than the limited instructions you get. And even then, they're usually lacking. Engineers don't know how to, generally, just don't do well at writing instructions. So what we're going to do, oh, and I see a couple other contributions coming in. Albiro Gorin has contributed, looks like $2. DJ Pride has contributed $1. Thank you guys for your contributions and your support. And we're going to start building now. There is no particular place we have to start. We can start by prepping the case, or we can start by prepping the board. What would you like? Where would you like to start? This will be a choose your own adventure.
I like the idea of prepping the case and then going with the things that are further in and coming out that direction.
All right, let's get you a very important tool. This is a Phillips number 2 screwdriver. It's the most commonly needed used tool in PC building. We'll need some other tools, but that's the one you're going to use the most.
Okay.
And let's turn this around and have you, we're going to step on the other side of the counter so everybody can see what you're doing. You know what? That's all right, never mind. I was going to get the lazy Susan out, but we'll cross that bridge later. Here's what I want you to do. These large screws are called thumb screws, and they're all loose, so I guess you don't even need the screwdriver. What I want you to do is I want you to remove these two, and these two, and pull the sides and top off.
Okay, to place. Got it.
Yep. And you know, I always tell people, take your time and enjoy your build. One of the things you're probably going to find when we're all done is you're going to want to build another one. You're going to trust me on this.
I believe it.
And then these pieces we're taking off, we're going to want to put them away somewhere where we're not going to actually accidentally, bump into them or dent them or scratch them. These are going to be the absolute last parts of our build. When we're done, these first parts we're taking off are the last parts we put back on. So we're going to, when we have all the thumb screws out, we're going to put those away. We're going to put the panels away. So not only can we not damage them, but we can find them when we're done to button it all up.
Do you happen to have a small container that screws are put in?
I'll show you what I do with that. Sometimes I use like a little ramekin, and you can, people watching, you guys can do that if you want to. I'm gonna wing it. I have a system in place.
Okay. Where I work, we get a lot of computers at the same time, and so we're told, make sure to label everything and put it in a container. But
when you're working with other people, and they're putting stuff one place and you're putting stuff another, nobody can find anything. But when it's just you, you know where you put stuff. I mean, if you don't know. All right, is that all of the screws?
Yeah.
Okay, now there should be, on the back of that case, where you're looking, there should be a little pull handle.
Yeah, this?
Pull it back, it should go back about an inch.
Oh, I got it.
And then away. So there's one panel. Now we'll grab the other panel. Very good. Now let me show you a little secret. You see how the other side of this has little pokey things?
Yeah.
They're going to scratch that up. So you either want to put yeah, exactly. You either want to put these two sides together, or you put the outsides together, so that they don't mark them up or accidentally put a nick in there. Nothing like spending your hard-earned money on a computer and then scratching it up. I'll just set those there. And then the top here should also, I think it pulls, it may not come off. Oh, there it is. Because I didn't read the instructions, I'm not sure how that comes apart. We'll set that there, and then I'm going to grab these thumb screws and I'm going to set them over here as well.
Okay, and the back stays on?
I'm sorry?
Does the back stay on?
Yeah, the back's going to stay on there. That's actually riveted. There's rivets here and here. See the rivets?
Okay.
Sometimes you just need to look at things and you can kind of conclude what can come off and what doesn't come off. So one of the first things we do in prepping the case is we need to put the motherboard I/O shield in, and we need to put the power supply in.
Okay.
And we can also mount any drives, hard drives, solid state drives, any of that can be done. That's all part of case prep.
Okay.
So we're going to do the power supply first. So to do that, what's holding the way the power supply is going to go in, it looks like
it slides in.
These two thumb screws are going to hold this frame in, and I'm guessing when you take those two out, this whole frame will come out, and then we can put the power supply in there. I could be wrong. I have not worked with this case before, but I think that's the way it works.
It looks like it, because the panel's starting to come off as I unscrew this. Are all the thumb screws the same size?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so they're
Generally
interchangeable.
speaking, case manufacturers, it costs them less money if they can use the same screw, right? And it also makes it easier for somebody working on it. But if you have different cases from different manufacturers, or even different models from the same manufacturer, may not all be interchangeable. But within that specific case, oh, that's all that came off was just that part.
Yeah.
Okay,
It looks like
I
you
guess
slide
that's
it
all we
in.
need. Now, I will tell you what I tell my audience, which is it's often more difficult to get the parts out of the box than it actually is to build the computer. So let me just grab this and set it aside. I'd like you to take the power supply out.
Okay.
And we're probably going to have to cut the tape on that box. In fact, well, I got my knife out. I'm going to go ahead and cut the tape on the CPU. We'll cut the tape on the RAM. And then our audience knows for a fact we are using brand new parts. Nothing is staged. Everything is live. Everything is real. Some people don't care. It's very important to me. All right. And I don't think there's tape. Oh, there is tape. That's good.
Do you have a specific place where the box would go?
Absolutely, they go right over here. All right, now, you played into that so well. Thanks for opening that door for my comedy.
Anytime.
All right, in the, well, what do we have? We have
This
power
and this.
cable and some zip ties. Good, good, good. We'll set that over there. You can take that out.
Okay.
Solo says, I like the Carry a Niche show. Guess we have a new title. All right, so let's see what we got here. This is the Thermaltake 750 watt. Sometimes they put a little plastic over the logo. They did not do that, thank goodness. They're like, we don't care if your power supply gets all scratched up. As long as the logo stays pretty, that's what's important. Here's what you're gonna do.
Okay.
This is gonna go in. This fan sucks air in. It doesn't blow air out like you think of most fans.
Okay.
This is going to suck air in, and it's going to suck it in from the bottom of the case, and that's why this case has a little filter under here.
For dust?
Yep. If it was blowing air out, there wouldn't be a filter.
Yeah.
So the fan's going to go in this position, down. So you think about how this frame came out,
Yeah.
right? So that's got to go on this power supply. You'll see there's twice as many holes on the frame as there is on the power supply, and that's because the power supply could be mounted the other way.
Okay.
You notice how that hole is offset, right? So if this were to be flipped over, it would still work upside down,
Oh. Okay.
right? And then the power supply could go in with the fan facing up, which would still work, but the cable management's not as clean. So now you're going to say, well, where are the screws?
Aren't they the ones we removed earlier?
No, those thumb screws just hold the frame in,
Oh,
right?
they go here.
So we're looking for case screws. Now, every computer case comes with the screws that you need to mount hardware for that specific case.
Okay.
With this case, there is a cardboard box. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it.
Oh, I see it.
You see the cardboard box there?
This. Do we take it out?
Yes, but I'm not quite sure how yet. There's got to be something that's got to get removed. The audience may not be able to see what we're doing. Let me have you step around just a little bit there
Okay.
so people can
Oh.
see.
I think I see how.
I think what's got to happen is I think these 4 thumb screws have to come out here on the back. Let me just turn this so people can see what you're doing. And this is all documentation, and that can all go with the rest of the documentation. These are the power cables. We don't need these yet, so I'm going to take all this and I'm going to just set it over here so we have space to work. We won't need that until later.
The Holzman show. We just bring the entire
The
family
Holzman
in.
show.
Yeah.
Nobody deserves that.
We bring in the 12-year-old who won't stop with puns.
I got news for you. Your grandpa doesn't stop with puns.
Yeah.
Neither does your father. It runs in the family.
It really does. Runs on my mom's side too, so I get the
you're
double
doomed.
dosage of
You are
heredity.
doomed. Kevin Steigers contributed $20 to the channel. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate your contribution. Did you get that box out of there?
No, it doesn't look like it can come out this direction. But pushing it the other direction is
Usually,
either.
let me just show you something. Let me have you stand right over here so
Okay.
I can show you and the audience at the same time. This is two 3.5-inch hard drive bays, and above it are two 2.5-inch hard drive bays.
Okay.
Can you see okay?
Yeah.
I think everybody else can see okay. Now I want you, well, I'm going to just show you and then you can do it.
Okay.
Because once you see this, you're going to be like, wow, that was really incredibly simple. You see these little tabs right here? If I squeeze them and pull,
Oh. Oh, I see how that works.
man, I
Okay.
wish the camera had saw your face right then. So this is called a hard drive tray, or sometimes referred to as a hard drive caddy,
Okay. And it works for
And then-
2 hard drives.
and two 2.5-inch solid state drives. Just exactly the same thing, miniaturized.
So theoretically, you could put in 3 separate hard drives of varying sizes.
You could put in 2 hard drives and 2 solid state drives.
Okay.
And then the box has little holes on the side and you have to bend the plastic away from the box. You're also going to install the hard drive the same way. You're going to bend the plastic around the hard drive. And you'll see these little posts sticking out from the plastic that go into holes in the box. Go ahead and put the hard drive tray, actually go ahead and grab that hard drive. How do you think that hard drive goes on that hard drive tray?
Just a sec. When building a computer, are cords mostly internal or any external? They're
All going to be
internal.
inside.
Okay. So that means it would go in that direction.
You are correct, but you're going to have to, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to line up the holes on one side and then bend the other side of the plastic and be very gentle. The hard drive is really the most fragile part of this whole build is that hard drive right there. So don't bang it around. Treat it like glass. Josh Purser has contributed $5. Thank you for your contribution, Josh. Hope you guys are enjoying the build. I will probably end up grabbing the camera here and holding it. Let me take a look at your handiwork here.
Okay.
Yes, you've installed it in the right direction. And just slide it right back in where it was.
Okay.
That's part of case prep. Bob Barnes has contributed 20 pounds. Have some money, Carrie. Keep up the good work, mate. Thank you, Bob. Thank you for the contribution.
This has the things that go with that to install it.
Yeah, come back around.
Okay.
And let me get the video card and motherboard. Let's get that all out of the way because we don't need this stuff yet so that we can see you because you're right there on the edge. So what I want you to do, let's just take all this stuff and put it aside because we don't need this for a while. Go ahead and empty the contents of the box out.
Zip ties. And a lot of small screws.
And just check the box, make sure it's empty.
Yep.
You know where that box goes? Very good. Very good. Nice throw.
Thank you.
All right. So zip ties, that's for cable management later on. We don't need those right now.
Okay.
We've got a couple of bags of screws here.
Different sizes or all the same?
No. Well, they're all the same per bag.
Okay.
Different bags, different types of screws for different purposes.
Okay.
This is a very fine threaded screw right here. This is typically used for optical drives and solid state drives. If you see the thread on it, it's very fine. And this one, these are your typical case style screws that are used for mounting the motherboard, mounting any hard drives that need to be secured, or installing your power supply, for example.
Okay.
Now these really fat coarse screws, these are very unique and different looking
Yeah.
than the other two bags. And these are for mounting these fans. You know, if we wanted to add another fan, there's space for another fan right here. And so this bag of screws would be for mounting additional fans. We're not even going to open this bag of screws for this build.
Okay.
So that's going to go over there. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this frame, putting it in the proper orientation,
Yep.
lining it up with the proper holes, and using the proper screws, one in each corner.
Okay.
Go ahead and remove 4 screws.
From the bag?
Yep.
Whoop.
See, Catherine has joined us in the chat. Catherine is the parts list creator. Catherine actually selected the vast majority of these parts for you.
Really?
I told Catherine what your needs were, and she came up with a list, and then we modified it slightly, but it's mostly Catherine's work, and she's just a little sick in the head that she likes putting together parts lists for people. So God bless her, she does a great job.
Thank you.
And so if anybody is looking for a parts list to meet a certain budget or your needs, on the Facebook fan page, it's completely free. You send a private message and explain what your budget is and what the purpose of the computer is going to be. If it's gaming, what kind of games, what resolution, what settings, and then you'll put Catherine to work. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. So I see you're not quite sure how to hold this.
Yeah.
You're sort of at a weird angle here. So normally, what I would do is I would find a way to just sort of let the power supply use gravity to assist you. And let's just have you do this where people can
See it a bit
benefit a little bit from your experience. Now you're going to see this power supply is a little better than others because the holes are elongated here. Some power supplies have little tiny round holes, and they look exactly like the little holes for the screws, except they have no threads. So it could be very easy to put the screws in the wrong place. This one's pretty obvious, so you're going to line it up.
And then
Make sure you can see through all 4 holes before you get started, right?
that would be more like this.
Whatever you think is best.
Okay.
Everybody's excited doing a Ryzen build. Michael says hello from Croatia. Hi, Michael.
This is very small detail work.
Well, I can tell you what you're doing wrong.
Okay.
Whenever you build a computer, it is highly recommended you use a magnetized screwdriver. A lot of people think magnets are not good for computers, and that comes from the 80s and 90s when we used floppy disks and other magnetic-based media. We don't use that type of media anymore. So there's no harm or danger in using a magnetized screwdriver, and let the screwdriver hold the screw for you. And you don't want to tighten any of these screws down. If the screw is not going in, it looks like it's going in really, really tough. Suggests to me something's not right here.
Okay.
Let me just take a real quick,
It has a screw on it.
just try real quick just to make sure we're using the right screws. Yeah, it's just, they're a little tight for some reason. This one's not really going in at all. So you don't want to force anything, and I'm not quite sure why that screw, it's like stopping right there. So what I'm going to do is just grab a different screw. I want to see if it's the screw or the hole that's causing that. It should go in without much resistance, and the fact that I see you working so hard at it has me a little concerned. But you know what? It's apparently the thread. So you're doing everything okay.
Okay.
As you were, only with the magnetic screwdriver. And again, you leave these screws loose so you can continue to adjust it, right?
And then tighten it later so that way everything's together in the, yeah.
You got it.
And does it matter if I use this hole or this hole?
Yes. Yes, only one's going to line up.
Okay, so this one would line up, which is what we'd use.
Yeah, this up here is not a, see, it's an elongated hole. It's not a,
Got
see
it.
what I'm saying? If you look, you can kind of see the rough metal inside of the hole. That's how you know it's been tapped for a screw.
Okay.
So yes, I do see customers bring systems to me that they've built themselves where they have put the screws through a hole in the power supply that was not intended for a screw. It doesn't necessarily hurt anything, but it's engineered specifically with the holes in the positions they are for a reason. So whether or not I understand what those reasons are, doesn't matter. There you go.
How tight are they supposed to be? Tight enough that the metal won't move?
Should be till they won't turn anymore. Nice and snug.
Okay. This screw doesn't want to go in any further.
You might have to just muscle it in a little bit.
Okay.
I can see you're a little nervous.
Yeah, it's...
So usually first-time builders, they're afraid of breaking something, so they're a little too gentle. But at the same time, I don't want you to force anything. And I'm just going to double check, make sure these are all... Just double checking your work. You've done a good job. Everything looks good. Now, how do you think that goes in?
upside down.
It's actually right side up.
Yeah, that way. Where the power supply is on the outside, so when we need to plug it into a socket, we can do that. Not to mention the power buttons here in case we need to do like a force restart.
Mm-hmm.
And the cords, do they go through the back?
Yeah, you're doing everything correctly.
Okay.
It should slide in without any resistance.
And then we take those screws and put them down.
Thumb screws.
Do you recommend that thumb screws use a screwdriver as well?
It's your choice.
Okay.
I generally, when I build a computer for a client, I want to discourage the client from opening it.
Yeah.
So I will tighten them down with the screwdriver, so they will have to get a screwdriver. They won't be able to do it with their fingers.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's your own computer and you're the one getting into it, you might want those screws to be something you can loosen without a screwdriver. That's your choice.
This isn't quite lined up right.
Matt says I missed his contribution. I'm sorry, Matt, what did you contribute? I'm sorry I missed it. And did you have any comments? Any statement with your... Don't you worry about the chat. You worry about this. I'll worry about that.
Okay. I'm not sure if I'm being too gentle or not, but one of these isn't quite lining up.
How you doing over there?
All right, I had to take one of the screws out to put the other one in.
Sometimes you have to do that.
Okay.
Trying to see what this contribution is that I missed. How come I don't see it? Oh, Matt Golding, oh, there he is. Contributed £5. Says, really enjoying your channel. Here's to the future and constant improvements. And Don Bev has contributed $2. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your contributions and supporting the channel. I really appreciate that.
There was a comment above the two contributions mentioning that it wasn't letting the person contribute.
Yeah, you know, I have no control over that. There's a donate button for at the techvets.com, tech-vets.com website that uses PayPal that people can use if they want to contribute to the channel. Apollo says, greetings from the Netherlands. Catherine's telling me about Bob Barnes. Yes, I've acknowledged Bob Barnes. I think Bob's contributed on previous live streams as well, so appreciate your generosity, Bob. And there was a new Tech Vets show that Mike and I did last night, so for those of you listening to Tech Vets, there's a new show available. Okay, now we're still doing case prep. The next thing we can do is we can put the I/O shield in. Now the I/O shield is in the motherboard box. So here I've got the motherboard box, and inside, you can see that it's going to be underneath the motherboard. I have to take this out. This here is the shield, so go ahead and remove that. And everything else, I'm going to just put away.
I see, it goes here.
Very good. You are in college, aren't you? Look at that.
Creative writing major.
Actually, the challenge is knowing which way is up.
I remember from the previews that the hearing ports are to the side or to the left rather than the right. No, I switched it. It goes that way. Because here are the ports for audio, and then the USB ports, and the weird ones that I will remember later.
So you'll notice one side of that has writing on it.
Oh.
So which side do you think faces the outside?
This way.
Well,
because the
how are you going to read the
back.
writing?
Oh, okay.
Right.
I figured it was a guide for putting it in rather than. Okay.
And it's got to go in from the inside.
Got it.
There you go. You've got it right side up, and it's just a friction fit.
Okay.
And sometimes people, they cheap out on their case. They're trying to save some money and they buy some cheap no-name brand case. And something as simple as putting the I/O shield in can be quite an obstacle, quite a challenge for an inexperienced builder. It's, as you're experiencing, challenging enough when the case is built well. And what you've got to focus on is getting the corners in, right?
Yeah.
So you want to just focus on one corner first, and then the corner above it, and then just go to the other side. You're going to have to press on it. You should hear it click.
There we go. Well, it clicked briefly.
You may have to have a third hand.
Let's see. If I put it in starting with this corner, which fits better, then it's that corner.
Go ahead and just hold in one side while pushing in the other. Now you're getting, there you go. No, I would do it just like that. Here, I'll tell you what, I want to just hold this side in for you.
Okay.
Now you focus on the other side.
Friction fit isn't like.
So the only thing I can tell you is, if I had some advice to give you here,
Okay.
is don't push on the I/O shield. Push only on the
Case?
on the corners of the I/O shield, the upper and lower corners, not in the middle or the sides. And you should kind of get some feedback from it. It should click when it fits in there.
There's a click.
Yeah, but look at the bottom though. The bottom
Yeah.
is popped out. Now you push the bottom and the top is popped out. So you got to get both sides, the top and bottom in at the same time, or focus on that.
Click.
I heard a click.
None that unclicked. Now it's clicked.
Good. Now do the other side. No, you still have to keep a hand
Oh, okay.
kind of, once it's clicked in place, just hold it there with your finger and then do the other side. Don't worry about popping it back in right now. Make sure this other side's seated well.
Okay.
Ah, that's definitely in. I'm gonna just hold it with my thumb just to make sure it didn't pop out on you. And then a little muscle is what it's gonna take in that corner. I heard it.
There we
It's
go.
sounding good. Sounding like it's going in.
I think it might be in.
So what I do is I just feel this edge, this metal edge, and see that it's,
Yeah, the
Even.
bevels.
yeah. Does it seem like it's sunken in anywhere? Does it look pretty level?
It looks relatively level.
Okay, it looks good to me. It just serves as an I/O shield. It just literally is a shield. So even if it wasn't all the way in, it would still work. It's just not going to look as pretty. So it's mostly about aesthetics, but more importantly, it's about doing it right. And if you're gonna do it right. That's what I say.
Yeah.
And then you can see the little metal indentations along the top.
Yeah.
You should be able to see all of those. And it should just seem like it's flush, right? And it is. It's fine. It's great.
Okay.
Now,
The bottom doesn't seem quite as beveled as the top. but, oh, nope, it's there.
You're not even going to be looking at it. You know, that's the part that faces the wall. I just want to make sure it's fully seated, that's all.
Okay.
Now, we can install the solid state drive. Go ahead and you are way off camera right now.
Yeah.
Why don't you come around here? And
Solid state drive installs the same way that the mechanical does,
yes,
except with the top instead of the bottom.
yes. And it doesn't matter which of those two trays you use. It's really up to you to decide, is my cabling going to look better? Is it going to be easier for me to access this? It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's a decision you get to make. This is the software that comes with the Samsung drive. We're not going to use the software. We're going to download it.
Okay.
So we're just going to put that over there. Whew, you did take the drive out of it first.
Yeah, I did.
Wouldn't have hurt it anyway.
I'll do the top ones, that way there's a little more space.
Well, guess what? You can still use that tray.
Yeah,
The trays are the same. You didn't have to put that tray back.
I know.
Okay.
Personal
As long as we're clear.
preference. I figured that having a little bit of extra space between the hard drives might be a good thing since I have the room.
For cooling purposes, a solid state drive will actually start to slow down as it gets hotter. So it's good thinking that if you give it a little bit of breathing room, it'll run cooler, and therefore, before you put that in, let me just check your work.
Okay.
Yes, you've got the connectors facing this side, that's correct. It is being held in correctly. Why are you taking that out?
I was going to put it on the bottom just for even more space because I can.
Oh, see, look at that. Very good. I approve. Someone has that OCD, like it runs in the family or something. Well, it's a good thing we're not serial killers then. Because I could sure kill some cereal right now. Oh, there's those puns that we were talking about earlier.
An extra space also makes it easier to put the cables in, right?
Well, I don't know. We'll find out. Stephen Anderson's contributed $20 to the channel. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen, for your contribution and support. Let's go a little bit on an angle here so people can see.
Right as it's popped in.
Yep.
I think this is popped in. It's not as far in as the other one, though. It's kind of sticking out of the case,
Let
actually.
me take a look at let's see what we got here. Which one do you say?
This one.
That's not in.
Yeah. Won't go in any further.
I don't believe you.
Okay, let me try again.
I think you're coming to a conclusion too soon.
There we go.
Oh, that seems better.
Yeah, you were right.
Okay. Okay, now, I think that is our case prep. I don't think there's anything left to put into the case other than the motherboard and all the cabling, right? Because all we're down to are the CPU, RAM, motherboard, and graphics card. The graphics card can't go in until the motherboard's in. The motherboard can't go in until we prep it.
Okay.
So I think we can set this off to the side. You know what? While we're here, this front panel comes off. Don't pull on it. It's like a kitchen. Yeah, it's like a kitchen cabinet kind of thing. So that's what I was going to have you do. Just go ahead and remove it. It should just pull off, doesn't it? Or is it on a hinge? No, it pulls off. You see these hooks?
Yeah.
And they go into those little holes?
Yep.
And you'll see there's another filter here. That's because there's a large fan that's going to bring air in. Because of the small nature of this case, airflow is critical.
Okay.
People have these filters and they don't know they've got them. And they get clogged up and the computer can't breathe.
Yeah.
So these filters are very dangerous items to people who don't know they've got them. You're better off without a filter than having a filter you never clean.
Okay.
You should clean this. I mean, I don't know what the dust is like in Oregon. It's not going to be as bad as it is in Phoenix. I'd say at least once a year.
Okay.
So probably when you're getting ready to move, whether the end of the semester or something like that. And then how did this go in?
Huh? Oh, okay.
The bottom's got to go in first. That much I know.
There's no clips at the bottom.
Yeah, but that's why it's got to go in first.
Oh, to go here?
Should be a little groove for it to sit in down there.
Okay.
Feel it?
Yep. There we go.
Not rocket science, right? It's pretty simple stuff.
Yeah. It goes in further, doesn't it?
Yeah, it should click into position. We don't have to put it back on right now. I was just, of course, it doesn't hurt to have it. Actually, I think you've got it backwards. I think it needs to go this way. I think. I could be wrong.
Okay.
And then it's clipping up underneath
Oh.
this ridge here.
I see.
See?
Okay.
So the reason you'd want it in there tight, though, is so that you don't have any sort of vibration or rattle later on. So what's happened is I missed the groove. You see what I did?
That's what I was about to fix.
Good job. And then I'm going to just take this panel and I'm going to just set it over here.
Okay.
So it'll look like we're really working. Now, there's a lot of discussion about electrostatic discharge. There's this concern I'm going to static shock and ruin my parts. And you can wear an anti-static wrist strap, but you don't have to if you handle the parts the way I show you.
Okay.
Nothing we've handled thus far have we had to worry about any electrostatic discharge. It's
Okay.
these parts here. There's a very minor opportunity for it to happen. It's not the way it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is there's a lot of people on the internet who know the way it used to be, and they still talk as though it was 1992. Parts that are mounted, electrical parts mounted in a circuit board, are very hard to static shock. When those parts are at the factory raw in bins, they're very easy to static shock. We are not working on carpet, we're working on tile. That also helps. Touching something metal on the case will help bring you at the same electrical level. This is not, they throw around the word grounding, but this isn't grounding. This is a type of grounding.
Okay.
Some people think you need to be plugged into an electrical socket with the switch off so that you've got that ground, but that's an earth ground. And if there was a huge a huge electrical, it would be highly unlikely for this to happen, but it happens a lot in old TV repair, those big glass TVs, those big heavy ones, where if you were working on it when it was plugged in and you accidentally short-circuited a capacitor or something like that, and you were grounded to the earth, the electricity will just flow through you. There's nothing to stop it.
Okay.
And it's extraordinarily dangerous, regardless if the switch is on or off, to be working connected to an earth ground. And I cannot emphasize that enough. And there's so much misinformation, and it's so dangerous. I always, time and time again, have to keep reiterating this to my audience that don't listen to those people on the internet. Mm-hmm. You're taking your life at risk when you do that. It's probably not a real big risk because, again, PCs are pretty secure, and the opportunity to get that kind of a short circuit is highly unlikely unless you're taking the power supply apart.
Okay.
But it's just a good practice. Right?
Okay.
You don't need it. So when we talk about anti-static, we're just talking about being on the same electrical level as your environment, and the way you do that is you touch something metal. It helps if the metal is bare and not painted, but it'll still, even painted, it'll do close enough. And then the second part of electrostatic discharge, is to hold the parts by their edges so that if there is a shock, it doesn't have any place to go.
Okay.
It has to be like 9,000 volts for you to feel that shock, but only 9 volts to damage a component.
Oh, okay.
So you can static shock something and completely unaware that it ever happened. And what's worse is it may not have any impact for 3 years down the road and all of a sudden it was the static shock that happened 3 years earlier. So there's this kind of ghost or mystery about static that has people freaked out. It's very hard to static shock parts today, but we still take the same precautions because it costs us nothing to do it.
Yep.
And it's just a matter of just handling you've got to handle the parts anyway.
Yeah.
So why not handle it by the edges?
Do it safely, make sure there's no issues, even if it's very unlikely that there would be.
Besides, the bottom of the circuit boards are pointy and they can cut your hands, they can scratch countertops. So if we hold it by the edges, we're going to work on the box.
Okay.
Because the box is a natural, it's not conductive. That's the main thing. So come around. Here we've got the AB350N gaming Wi-Fi board from Gigabyte. And this little tiny thing is your entire motherboard right there. And then in the box, we've got SATA cables, we've got a Wi-Fi antenna,
Okay.
and we've got our documentation and driver discs here. So I'm going to just set all this aside. And I want you to take the board out of the, you know what, I'm going to take the board out of the bed because I want to show you how I'm going to hold it.
Yeah.
Don't know why they keep things closed. So I always touch the case. I'm going to grab something plastic, so there's a little connector here. And I actually went to go grab underneath of it, and it's pointy and sharp because I'm touching a solder point. So I'm just going to kind of grab the edge in the connector, slide that out, and I'm just going to set it right here on the box. Okay. Now, if I'm going to handle this in the future, what I advise you to do, see how I'm holding it?
Yep.
Doesn't matter where, just hold it by the edges and try to avoid touching any of those sharp points on the bottom.
Okay.
And that's also how you would invite an electrostatic discharge into the parts. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the camera a little bit so our viewers can get a better view of what we're doing. See some chat in the some comments in the chat. Someone just mentioned Andy Grove. He was the CEO of Intel. When I worked at Intel, he was the boss. And if you were lucky, you got to see him just walking the hallway, because Intel has a lot of different facilities. And I worked at the one in Chandler, and I just remember a friend of mine walked right into him, like he was coming around a corner, and just walked right into him. And the joke he used to tell is that Andy was really nice, and he's like, "Oh, no problem." And then he was like, as he walked away, probably went, "Fire him." But he was a super nice guy. Before I move the camera, let's go ahead and leave that there. That's where it is perfect.
Okay.
We have a couple things to prep the motherboard. That is, we're going to insert the CPU and then put the heatsink on it, and then we're going to add the RAM.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong order. You could put the RAM in first, but if you have these sticks of RAM in your way, it might be hard to work in this spot.
Yeah, it might be easier to put this in and then the RAM.
I think so.
Since RAM generally pops in and out pretty easily.
Everything pops in and out on a computer fairly easily. It's really about picking what's right for you, what you're comfortable with, and just kind of thinking it through a little bit. Now, I've never built a Ryzen computer before, but the build process is no different now than it was in 1992 when we were using 486 processors or Intel processors. The difference is on an Intel chip now, the pins are in the socket versus on the CPU. AMD still puts the pins on the CPU.
Okay.
So on Intel-based motherboards, there's 1,151 little teeny tiny pins. Okay. And in fact, I've got a board here, I'll show you. I'm going to just grab it. I've got one back here. Yeah, this one will work. So what Intel has decided to do is they make the bottom of the CPU flat. And these are little tiny pins, and they're very, 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 very delicate.
Okay.
You get the hint that they're delicate?
Yeah.
And there's 1,100, can you count them? Trust me, there's 1,151 pins there. And
each of those individual pins looks like it might have smaller pins in there, maybe?
No, but each one's very small, and they're very easily damaged. So if you were to like have long sleeves and part of your shirt got caught up on that, game over.
Okay.
Game over. Now,
in that case,
you're okay because we're working with AMD.
Okay.
I'm just saying the only difference in building is the chip has the pins on the bottom of the chip.
Versus this
like
one having
Intel
the
used to
pins.
do it.
Okay.
But now Intel has switched it, and they put the pins here on the socket, and these are very delicate. You can see if I just barely drag my finger, I have completely damaged that socket beyond repair. Some people can. There's people in the chat going, "Oh, that hurt. Oh God, I hope that board was bad. That's cruelty to motherboards." Oh, you like that, don't you? You want to see it again? Watch this, you sickie. Look at that. Yeah. Totally ruined. See the pins now?
Oh, wow.
See the physical damage?
Can I? Like, can I mess with?
Yeah, it's a bad board. Have fun. You definitely don't want to do that to your motherboard if you're building with an Intel. Again, we're building with AMD, so we don't have this caution to worry about. What we have to worry about is we don't want to bend the pins on the bottom of the CPU.
Does this
Look
do
at the comments in the chat. They act like you just murdered somebody on camera.
Does
I'm sorry, what?
I saw in there that there was a lever that you pulled and it popped up so you could insert the
Yep, we're gonna
is
get
that
there.
the same here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's called, so what we used to have to do is we used to have to take the chips and line them up on the socket and put our weight and it was scary because if it wasn't exactly lined up, you could bend any one of the pins. Now they didn't have 1,100 pins back then. They might have had 50 or 80 pins back in the day, maybe 100, I don't remember. And then to take it out, we had this little tool that looked like a little rake and you had to get it and pry it up. So there was a lot of force required. This requires no force because it has a lever that's going to lift. And it's called a ZIF socket, or zero insertion force.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, followed.
Cool. This is the Ryzen 5 1600 CPU. Bum, bum, bum. And we're going to open this up, and inside of the box we have the cooler, which is in this. Don't you like it when they ship you a box, and in that box is a box, and in that box is a box?
Yeah.
Nice, huh?
And then inside that box might be another box depending on,
It's like Russian nesting dolls. What we have here is your processor,
Okay.
and this is what I call a go faster sticker. Apparently, if you put this on your computer, it'll go faster. It's sort of like painting stripes on a car.
Okay. Urban Legendy faster.
It's just looks fast. The police will pull you over when you're not even driving because it just looks like you're fast. All right, there's nothing else in this box. Are we gonna do it? Are you waiting? Yeah, of course we'll do it. All right, now, in this box, this is kind of a learning experience for me as far as the packaging goes because I've never taken one out.
Okay.
We've got that box.
Instructions.
These very important instructions. And then we've got the cooler in here. Now the cooler should already have some thermal compound applied to it.
Okay.
And we don't want to touch that thermal compound because there's oils on your skin that can contaminate and affect its efficacy.
Yeah.
What the thermal compound does is it helps with it helps sift. Sift? What's the word I want? There's a word. Wick. It helps wick the heat away. This is a big metal heat spreader.
Yeah.
Underneath of it is the CPU die that gets really super hot. And what this does is it spreads that heat off, trying to get that heat off of this chip. This thing will hit 300 degrees Fahrenheit
Easily.
very quickly. And they used to make them out of ceramic material to withstand the heat back in the 486 and early Pentium days. Troll McTrollington has contributed $5 Canadian. His comment is, it's referred to in the PC world as boxception. I guess like Inception. Anyway, there's, thank you for your contribution, Troll McTrollington. It's a strange name your parents chose for you. You see the pins on the bottom of the chip?
Yeah, the pins here line up to the pins here.
Yes, but only in one direction, and I'll show you how to do that. And I'm just going to take this out. You see the plastic? It's covering that thermal material that's already pre-applied. So we can take that one off. There's nothing to worry about there. And then that can go right over there.
Does it go in this direction?
So what I don't want you to do is I see your zippers are kind of on your jacket. You can keep it on. Just I want you to be aware of where those zippers are hanging. That's all. Just be aware of it.
Okay.
And then what we're going to do is, let's see, there's our big old cooler, right? So it's got like a radiator like a car, and this is a copper core because copper transfers heat better than aluminum. Do you know what transfers heat better than copper?
I know it was a precious metal like silver or gold or something.
In what order do you think? Which one do you think transfers heat better, silver or gold? Go with your gut on this.
Gold.
Yeah. And which one do you think transfers heat better, gold or platinum?
Possibly platinum.
Yeah. Basically, the more precious the metal is, the more rare it is, the more expensive it is. It also is very good at transferring exponentially better the heat transfer. But when it comes to how much is it going to cost me to transfer this heat, nothing beats the price per pound for copper for the ability of its. So you're going to see a lot, like this cooler has a copper core, but the rest of it, the fins are aluminum.
Okay.
And this fan is blowing air straight down.
Okay. To cool the.
To dissipate the heat, to keep these fins, so the heat's coming out of this chip
Okay.
across this heat spreader, and you can't see it, but there's little microscopic imperfections in the heat spreader, and
Okay.
nothing's ever perfectly smooth in this world. So all that thermal compound's supposed to do is fill in those little tiny microscopic nooks and crannies to make that heat transfer better. And some people overdo it with thermal compound, some people don't put enough on, some people, there's a large debate. People are very passionate about their thermal compound on the internet. So when it's pre-applied, there's no argument as to how to apply it or putting on too little or too much. It's already done by the factory the way the factory intends, and that's the way we're going to keep it.
So does that copper part go on top of that?
It will, yes.
Okay.
Well, the copper part you'll see has that gray stuff. That's the thermal compound that's covering up the copper.
Okay.
And that's when it looks solid like paint right now, but when it heats up, it becomes viscous.
Okay.
Not super viscous, but more than it is now. It's more of a, it kind of becomes runny in a way, and it's going to fill in little gaps and everything, and that's what it's intended to do. It's not an airtight system. Like I said, there's a lot of misinformation and superstition on the internet regarding thermal compound. There are people that will spend a lot of money on a super high-end thermal compound because they think it makes a difference, despite evidence suggesting otherwise. And whatever makes you happy,
Yeah.
So we're going to use what the factory intends, so there's no debate, no argument. That's what the factory wants us to do. And we're going to install the CPU. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to move the camera so we can watch you close up on how we're going to prep this board, because this is a critical part. And it's a lot of fun. It's not scary at all. And I'm going to, bear with me, audience, don't get seasick. Try not to. I have to figure out how I'm going to get this camera to rotate around. There it is. There we go. Okay, now. That looks pretty good to me. So here's your CPU,
Okay.
right? And what we're going to do, see if I can see it on camera. There's usually a little indentation somewhere on here where we can open this plastic up. This is an anti-static plastic.
Okay.
And I'm just going to peel it open. It should open like a little door. It's like another piece of plastic right there or something. What's going on?
That's the sticker thing.
I know, but why is it? Oh, I think the sticker's on the other side. Now to hold this CPU, we're going to grab it by the edges.
Yeah.
Just, right? Grab that. Great. Where is that sticker at? Is it? Oh, yeah, it is on the outside. That's really, really important, because All right, so looking here on this is a little lever, and there's a
Yeah,
little
it goes
piece of
up.
plastic, so it's going to pull away and then up.
Okay.
And you couldn't really see it, but this whole mechanism is moving right here. And my arm is in the way, but hopefully everybody can see that. Now you see one corner looks like it's kind of, there's like a hard plastic area right here.
Yeah.
And one corner of that, you should see a little gold arrow.
Right here.
Yeah, let's put it under the, let's show everybody. So you see that gold arrow?
Let's see.
There's a little delay. There you go. Now, that gold arrow is going to go in that corner. And you'll also see, do you see these little notches right there? And
Yeah.
you'll see these little notches cut out here.
Okay.
That ensures that it only goes in one direction. You can't get it wrong. So what I want you to do, and I'm going to demonstrate it to you first, okay, and then I'm going to take it back out. On this side of the CPU, you'll also see the gold arrow. And you'll see the corner looks like it's, I guess all the corners look that way.
Yeah.
But it should go, based on what I'm looking at, I could be wrong, it looks like it goes in this way. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently set it in there. And if it doesn't go, I'm not going to force it because those pins are delicate and I don't want to damage them. Because if I've misread it, then, you know, I don't want to damage anything. In fact, I think I've got it. It's got to go in. I can't go in that way. It's got to go in with the Ryzen writing, it looks like facing this way.
Yeah.
You see how that side went in, but this side didn't?
Mm-hmm.
Still doesn't seem quite right to me. So that little arrow, that little indicator, that's right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important indicator, and it should be a matching one on the board, and apparently I've misread it. Now, by the way, your motherboard documentation will specify this much clearer, but, you know, I don't want to use it. But basically, if you see these two little plastic notches, and you see them here on the bottom of the CPU, you know it has to go on either this way or this way. It cannot go on with the writing. You know what I'm saying? These two, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So it either has to go on like this, which it doesn't seem to even be lining up at all, or it's got to go on like this. I just don't see the gold. There's supposed to be an arrow on the socket, and it looks like it just requires a little bit of negotiation, and it is fully seated right now. So I want you to do it. Unfortunately, my hand was really blocking that view. I hope they can see it better.
And then this goes down. This goes down, right?
Well, wait, let me just check and make sure it's fully seated all the way. Yep. And then you're going to push that down, and then it's going to lock. It's going to be quite some tension on it. You're going to have to push down on it with a little bit of muscle.
Okay. And then it goes around.
There you go. You've locked it in place. Very good. So that's the chip installed on the board. And of course, this board would take any of the Ryzen chips. They all have the same pinouts. So if we had a Ryzen 3 or a Ryzen 7, they would fit in accordingly. And that's the scariest part because it's worth so much money and those little pins are so delicate. The CPU itself is not delicate at all. It's just those darn pins that are delicate.
Yeah.
And of course, if you were to have touched this top, it's not like the world is over. What we would do is we would grab a Q-tip and some rubbing alcohol, and we would clean that before we put the heatsink on top.
Okay.
Now, we're at the part now where we can put the heatsink in, so we're going to grab the heatsink. We can remove this plastic cover protecting that thermal compound.
And the holes there line up with the... Okay.
Well,
there we go. Line up with the screws here?
No, actually, you'll see that this heatsink has screws, right? And yet the socket is designed for a latch. You see the hooks? So this socket has to come out. You see these 4 screws?
Yeah.
That's where these 4 screws need to go.
Okay.
So we need to take a screwdriver and we need to remove these.
Those 4 screws.
Yeah, because this takes 2 different kinds of AMD chips that have different types of heatsink mounts.
And like, I'm not going to break anything by taking them out, right?
I don't know. Are you?
No idea. That's why I was asking you.
I don't know what you're going to do.
Okay.
My crystal ball doesn't work.
Okay, I'll hold it like that. There we go. And using a magnetic screwdriver is not gonna like...
You gonna finish that question, or?
That was the end of my question.
Okay.
It just trailed off in a...
Kind of concluded your own.
I figure it's already broken if it was gonna break from that. And do we keep the screws?
No.
Okay.
I mean, you might want to keep that if for some reason you wanted to downgrade to an older processor, or if AMD decides to take a step backwards in the future and you want to replace the processor. Usually the processor and the motherboard get tied together for life, in my opinion, because after about 18 months, you probably won't be able to find either one anyway. If one dies, you pretty much have to replace them both.
Okay.
Now you'll see there's still these little sockets. We're going to leave that because this does need someplace to plug into.
Yes.
Now this can plug in any direction. There's really no wrong way to do it, but I like to make my cable management as pretty as possible.
Okay.
So what I do is I look and see where this cable that powers this fan, where's that going to plug in on the motherboard? Somewhere on this board, there's going to be a little plug, and it should say in really tiny letters around it, CPU fan, and it should be somewhere around the CPU. Now, once again, the motherboard manual is going to specify this. We should be able to just locate it with the naked eye. I see one right here. Is that our CPU fan? The cable's kind of close to it. Does it say?
I don't see it if it does. SPF panel. SATA cable.
There's really very little writing on this board. I'm used to bigger motherboards where they actually etch onto the motherboard. What I've done when I lifted the board, you see there's a back plate. This is the other part of what you unscrewed. I've got to put that back. We need that part. Put that back. I think that's got to be the CPU fan because I don't see another one. I think that's it.
What does it say? Because there's a lot of words, they're just really tiny. Red DI, or CI, LED CI.
Well, I've got the motherboard manual here, and this says,
This says
here.
audio.
So you see this diagram, and what does that say? There's a little arrow pointing to that thing.
CPU fan, which would be right next to a thing that says LAN. So it would be by the audio. Audio being this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that is our CPU fan right there.
Okay. The gray one?
The gray one.
Okay.
It's the only one, as far as I can tell. I don't see another connector like that anywhere on the board.
I see a lot of pins, and it's difficult to differentiate between them having no prior knowledge.
Yes, but you'll see there are different number of pins, and you'll also see there's a little plastic ball.
Thing.
Yeah, like a notch, and it's going to line up with the grooves on the fan. People can't see what I'm doing because I'm so closed in. Anyway, so what I'm going to do when I put the fan in is I go, okay, I know the cable has got to connect here, right?
Yeah.
So I want to put the fan on whichever way makes the best sense on cable management, which means I could put it on this direction, but it means my AMD logo is going to be upside down, not that anybody's really going to see it.
Yeah, I was thinking if you did it one more, then that would...
This way?
Other way.
Well, okay.
Because then the cable would go around the fan, and there'd be less sticking out.
Okay, I can see where you're going there. For me, I don't like to wrap the cable around the heatsink. I would much rather grab a wire tie and take up the slack like this.
That makes sense.
So what I'm thinking, and remember, this has no impact on how effective it's going to cool. This is all about aesthetics.
Okay.
So for me, I think I would either go this way and run the cable like that, which is still almost equivalent to what you said. But this is the quickest, most efficient route, was just be, I mean, literally the cable could be that long, look.
Yeah. Honestly, I was just thinking that the AMD logo and the Ryzen logo would be facing the same way.
Well, remember now, the motherboard's going to go into the case like this. And your case has a little window on top where you're going to be able to look straight down at this motherboard. But you're probably going to put your monitor on top of this case. You're not even going to see it anyway. But for some people, this is really important.
Yeah. Having both of them face the same way would be preferable, just aesthetics-wise.
Well, nobody's going to ever see that because this is covering it.
That's fair.
But we could put it on this way, just like you were talking about, and run the cable here. There's no reason not. You can.
Okay.
The shortest distance would be to put it on this way. Again, it has no, oh, you know what? We cannot put it on that way. I just realized that these two screws are narrower on one side. On Intel chips, so this can only go on one of two ways. It either has to go on this way or 180 degrees this way. That's it. Those are your two choices. I'm so into the Intel world, it didn't occur to me. Because on Intel, you can go any of the four directions.
Okay.
So we either go this way and run the cable.
Back around and bend it in a way that it doesn't look like it was.
This is how I would do it, because when you look straight down, you're going to see the AMD logo. Either way, which way would you like?
Oh, I see. That's the front of the computer. This is coming out to the back, having
And
the
this is
logo
looking
face
straight
front.
down.
Having
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
You want it to face the front, or you want it to
Yeah.
face the back?
Yeah, I prefer your suggestion.
Probably no one's even going to notice that. You're going to have to point it out. Did you see how my logo faces the front?
I mean, I'd do that, honestly.
So I'm going to just set this on top.
Okay.
I'm going to kind of start this for you. Now what you're going to want to do is,
Are they lining up with the holes on that side?
it doesn't matter. You just want to line up one.
Okay.
And it's got little springs, so you're going to have to push down a little bit and just turn it a couple of turns, that's all.
Okay.
And because it's important that we have even heat distribution, well, maybe I lied, maybe we do have to get them all lined up. I thought I could move it.
It's
We want to do
movable now.
opposite corners on this so that we don't warp it in any way. We want a complete level, flat surface area.
Okay.
Otherwise, this isn't wanting to come out.
Oh, it hasn't come out. Oh, I see what you mean.
Okay, so that one's lined up. So what's happening is the thermal compound is already starting to stick to the top of the CPU. All I want to do is I want to just get these a little bit started. So we do just a couple turns there,
Okay.
and just a couple turns here. And I would like you to do a couple turns on this one and then the opposite corner.
1, 2, 3.
And then
This one.
opposite corner.
1, 2, 3.
You can tighten that one all the way down now.
Okay.
Tighten it till it stops. You know what, that's far enough. Don't take it any further. Go ahead and, I didn't think it was going to keep going that far. Go ahead and do that one.
I did
about
16.
Approximately about the same amount of.
2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think that was it. This
right.
one's tightened all the way.
Okay. Now that one.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And now the opposite side.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And now, here, make sure it tightens till it doesn't
That's
turn
tight.
anymore.
Yep.
Opposite corner, same thing.
Yep.
It doesn't matter, keep double checking. Sometimes
Okay.
they loosen up.
And then this corner?
Mm-hmm.
6.
You don't have to count them.
Okay.
You don't have to be that precise.
There we go.
Let
And then
me
check
just-
them all again?
I'm going to double check your work.
Okay.
This is important that these are tight, but if you over tighten them, you will break the tops off of them. Well done. Now, so everybody can see, we're going to rotate this around a little bit here. This connector, right here, I'm waiting for the video to catch up to what I'm doing,
Yeah.
is going to go right here in this direction.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and put that on. And let's see if you can move this hand so people can see what you're doing.
Okay, feels like the pins are lined up. Do I just push down?
Yep, it's just friction.
Did I turn it around the wrong way?
You may not have it on all the pins, just double check. So where's the little wall that's coming up and where are the little grooves at?
Oh, I have this backwards, I think.
You do.
Yeah. And then this just slides in. Are they in? Okay. There we go.
Yep. And there's the top of your head.
Top of my head. Whoop.
There we go. Okay. So we've got that plugged in now onto the CPU fan. And we can get a little, you know those nylon zip ties that we got with the case?
Yeah.
We can just grab this right now before we mount the motherboard into the case. And just, you see how easily that's done. Just take this like so.
And then you cut the edge of the zip tie.
Yeah, we often call that the pigtail.
Okay.
And if you leave a part of the pigtail hanging out, it could cut your hand when you reach in there. So I try and make it as flush as possible. So the next person who has to work on it, which is often me, doesn't get a nice scratch across their arm or their hand. So now we've got the RAM to install. Now this motherboard only has 2 sockets and we only have 2 RAM modules. So guess where the RAM's gonna go?
I figured it was going to go here, but it looks...
Yeah, these are your 2 RAM sockets here.
What are these 2? Are they a continuation?
Well, this side opens. You see how that opens? Mm-hmm. This side does not open because if there was a video card here, you wouldn't be able to, right? Your video card would get in the way.
Oh, I get it. Okay. So the RAM's really long.
Yes.
Okay.
This is our memory. Let me move this aside for a minute since we have the camera on such a close-up. This is our memory right here. And you know I'm going to go to a different, let's go to the live feed so we don't have that delay for us. Here's our live feed right here. So this is what we're using. This is the Corsair DDR4. This is 8 gigs of RAM. This is the minimum amount of RAM I recommend for any new system build. We're using Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10. 8 is good, 16 is better, but for most people, they wouldn't even see a difference other than their wallet would be a lot lighter. RAM is really expensive right now. In this box, we're going to have 2 modules. Get rid of the box.
And they go in facing that direction.
They're only going to go in one way. You'll see there, it's called keyed, where there's a notch in the memory. So it can only go in one direction.
Okay.
And there's often little bits of plastic covering the, remember I said, it doesn't matter if the product gets scratched as long as the logo doesn't get scratched.
Yeah.
You don't have to take this plastic off. It's kind of an OCD thing.
That's fair.
I'll tell you what's great about leaving the plastic on is that the next guy you sell it to, when you're done with it in 5 or 6 or 8 years, they'll peel it off and they'll be like, wow, it's like brand new. Thanks for not taking that off. So here's our memory. When you have a motherboard that has, 4 or 8 sockets, you have to refer to, you really do need to refer to the motherboard manual to determine which of, if you've got more sockets than RAM, you need to determine which sockets to use for the RAM that you have.
Okay.
For the amount of RAM. So we only have 2 sockets and we only have 2 sticks of RAM. I'm going to put the first stick of RAM in and you're going to do the second one.
Okay. They look pretty symmetrical.
They're exactly identical except the key is not in the center. The slot or the key is offset.
That one, okay.
And there'll be a notch. So first thing I do is, and I'm going to start with the inside one so everybody can see. You can see this is backwards, right?
Yeah.
You can tell it still lines up into the slots, but the notch isn't going to light up, is it?
No, not at all.
So, turn it around the other way. Now, how does that look to you? Does it look like that notch is now going to properly? And what I'm doing is I'm trying to just get it in the track and seat it, just like that. Now, it's not installed yet.
Yeah.
This is the very first step, is to just line it up properly. Then I'm going to grab my thumbs. Come on, where's my thumbs? There's my thumbs. And this takes a little bit of muscle. And it doesn't matter which side, just do one side. And when I do the other side, you're going to see this little clip right here. It's going to go up. Sorry, I just pointed the wrong one.
Yeah. Okay.
You actually see I'm bending the cardboard down. That's how hard I'm pressing on it. But it's fully seated. Now I want you to do the next one.
Okay. Not seated, lined up. That is a lot of force.
It's not all the way in yet. You gotta use more force than that. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Am I gonna break it?
Nope, you gotta go right to the edge though. Don't go to the middle, go to the edge. You're just not getting it. You see this connector?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna pop this side up. Watch this. Watch this connector.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not going in for some reason.
Did I put it in backwards?
No, we wouldn't have gone that far if you did.
Okay.
Everything's brand new and it's a little bit tight. A little tighter than normal. So I'm just gonna see that one more time. I want you to try again.
Okay. One corner and then the other.
Mm-hmm. That sounded good.
There we go.
That sounded better. And the
thing
little
went back.
retention lever went all the way up this time.
Yeah.
I always tell people, take your time and enjoy your build. And if you have to do something twice, hey, that's part of the fun right there. So right there's the motherboard prepped. We've got 2 sticks of 4 gigs of memory installed. Our Ryzen 5 1600 is underneath the heatsink. Heatsink is mounted and the fan is connected. That's all we can do with the motherboard at this time.
Not putting in the graphics card?
Graphics card will go in after the motherboard's been installed,
Okay.
because the graphics card is going to secure to the side of the case.
Oh.
So there's nothing to secure the graphics card when the motherboard is outside of the case. And we don't want to damage the graphics card. We don't want to damage anything.
Yeah.
Now let me move the camera back once again so we have a wider angle of what's going on here. And we'll zoom it out. All right. Maybe you can zoom it out. That's as far as I can zoom. We're going to leave it right there since you seem to like standing there.
Yeah.
We'll make sure you're on camera now.
It just makes sure that I can like move this and not have.
Now, this stuff here, we can keep it. It doesn't hurt to eat it. If you never need it, you never need it. Here's what I do. I take the motherboard box. We're using it right now, but I'm going to put all the extra parts in the motherboard box. All the documentation, all the discs, all the parts we're not using. It's all going to go in the motherboard box. And that way, if you ever need anything in the future, you know it's somewhere in the box. So just don't lose the box. And ideally, you won't need anything for a long time anyway, which makes it real easy to lose the box. All right, this is the biggest audience I've ever had on a live stream. We've got 1,121 people watching us live all over the world. How does that make you feel?
Kind of neutral because like I can't see y'all. But,
Oh, well, that's no fun.
I can listen to the chat and the chat's been kind of fun to watch. Honest answer.
Not nervous?
Nah.
Good. How do you feel about the building process so far? Has it been?
Very intuitive and a lot easier than
Am I being condescending?
Nah.
Okay. Because if I am, I don't mean to be. I don't know what you know or what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
So, but you're doing a great job. Everything's going swimmingly.
Do you have a recycle bin?
I do. What I usually do is I take the biggest, like the cardboard, all that stuff will go. We don't recycle glass in the city.
Oh.
And certain things you're not allowed to recycle, like that motherboard we ruined the socket on. I can't just throw that in the garbage.
Yeah.
Well, I can, but you're not supposed to. So not everything that can be recycled is recycled, but the big stuff I always, you know why? Because it takes up too much room in the trash can. Yeah. We wouldn't have any room, so I'm sort of forced to recycle whether I like it or I don't. All right.
My inner Californian / Oregonian is just like, plastic going in the trash.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about that.
No
Keeping
problem.
it weird over there. That's Oregon's slogan, right? Keep it weird?
Yeah.
Keep Oregon weird?
I've seen Keep Portland Weird bumper stickers everywhere.
Keep Portland weird?
Yeah.
I used to think San Francisco was the hub of all the, for lack of a better word, hippie ecology, people that really prioritized ecology, until I went to Oregon. Then I was like, wow, I've never seen more Toyota Priuses in my life.
I haven't seen any smart cars, funny enough.
Smart cars, not very
cars, but the small ones.
Ben Shaw has contributed £2. Love your videos. Keep it up, he says. Thank you, Ben. Thanks for your contribution. Again, thanks to Catherine Anna Hauserman and Douglas Biggers, the moderators in the chat right now, keeping everything civil, although it seems like everybody's pretty much behaving. Oh, look, Brytech09. Brytech, his name is Brian. He's from England. He's a computer technician who also has a YouTube channel. He shows people much more concisely. Whereas my videos run on for 14 days, his videos run for about 14 minutes.
Okay.
He never shows his face, so you just see a pair of hands and that great British accent, which makes me feel really stupid. I don't know what it is about the British accent, but I can listen to Brian talk. Anybody British, just listen to him talk. So Brian is what I would consider a peer, and he has his own business in England. I don't know where, but England's not that big. So if you're in England, say hi to Brian for me, because I know everybody knows each other there. He wants to know how much this build was. Do you remember how much you spent?
Because the cost of prices rose between the time we put it in the cart and the time we bought it, which was 5 minutes or 10 minutes, by the way.
How much did they rise?
It rose by like $60 or
what?
something.
Something must have been on sale.
I don't remember. It was, but I know that total it was 1,010-ish.
Yeah, because we were at $950, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was taxes or shipping or something that got off of sale or something.
And that's without the operating system.
Yeah.
So another 100 for the operating system. Now, what we're looking at is, I don't remember the individual prices for everything. RAM was about 120, solid state drives probably 140, mechanical drives probably 60, 50 or 60 bucks.
60, 59.99.
Motherboard was probably what, 120, 140?
Yeah, the initial build for this was a lot less expensive, but I came across a little bit of extra budget, which is why this isn't the initial $746 or something along those lines.
Yeah, which originally, as I mentioned, Catherine put together the parts list for us. So we changed the case and did a little something different with the storage, I think.
Yeah,
and
added the SSD.
Yeah, so like 90% of this is the original, or 80% of the parts Catherine originally picked. And all the parts are listed in the video notes below the video, and you can just look there and the links take you to Amazon, and the prices do fluctuate. RAM prices, especially RAM, is really expensive. I just thought it was humorous when you had asked me, your brother asked you, why didn't you go 16 gigs of RAM? And then I had to remind you, you had a $500 budget. Do you see how much just 16 gigs of RAM, nothing else, just 16 gigs. How much is that?
That was
You're like, never mind, sorry I asked. Yeah. I have $500, but I want the fastest computer humanly possible.
I was looking for something that was like cost-benefit analysis, most benefit for the cost, but...
That's all everybody, well, that's not what everybody wants. Some people want just the fastest thing ever for bragging rights. Some people want the cheapest thing because it's not important to them. But for me, I'm always interested in what I call the best bang for the buck, and it's always a moving target, you know.
Yeah.
Solid state drive prices have come way, way down, making them very affordable and highly recommended. But then RAM prices have gone up.
Yeah.
And then this will all change in a couple months. It'll be something else. So just par for the course. And did I miss that contribution? Patrick Roussos contributed $10. He says, Happy New Year. And this reminds me of the time I built a PC with my 10-year-old niece 7 years ago. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Patrick. So that means your 10-year-old niece is now 17. So time flies, right? Do you think about that? In 3 more years, she will have doubled her lifespan from when she... This just plays in my head.
Yeah. Do you like remember me when I was 10? Because I don't know. Like this is the
I
most
remember...
communication we've had ever combined.
So my brother lives in California. I'm in Arizona. There's not a whole lot of family events, so we don't really know each other very well.
Yeah.
Right. And I have a picture of you being held by. Before I got married, I was dating this other person, and I actually thought it was Merrick. I'm like, look at and then I realized he's not old enough to be this baby, but it was you. All babies look alike, you know. To me, they do.
I found my initial baby picture from like when I was born, and the hospital's like, here's your announcement photo. And I just have this disgusted look on my face with my hands like this. And it was just, differentiating the facial expression from a lot of babies that are just kind of there and like staring, and I'm more like, ew, what's that?
It runs in the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, just the distance between us and the fact that we don't have a lot of like family gatherings or anything. This is why I was really looking forward to this, because we haven't really. This is probably the most time we've ever spent together, and certainly any time we've been together before, there's been other distractions, other family members pulling for our attention. So this is one of the reasons I was really looking forward to this. And besides, it's a Ryzen build, which I haven't done before, and you get your experience of building a computer for the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm jealous because I'll never experience building a computer for the first time again. So I have to live vicariously through your facial expressions and reactions, which I'm really watching you. And that's why, because I love that. Now, here's what we're going to do. On these mini ITX boards, there's only 4 screws that secure the board into position. There's going to be a hole in every corner, right? 4 corners, 4 holes. Yes, those are you'll see they've got a little metal around them. That reinforces the circuit board, so you don't crush it when you're tightening the screws down, and they act as a ground.
Okay.
So they function in two ways. Now, on other motherboards and other cases, there are these little standoffs that are in here, and they might have to be moved to accommodate the holes in the board. Mm-hmm. But because there's only one standard for mini ITX, these standoffs can only be in one place. They don't move. Mm-hmm. So one of the biggest mistakes people can make on a first-time build is that they don't check that there's a standoff behind their motherboard where there's no hole and they can't see it. And if that standoff hits one of these metal points and you mount it down there, what do you think happens?
Everything breaks?
Well, when you apply power, the power then jumps across the circuit because the metal is connecting them.
Okay.
And you can't see it because there's no hole when we mount this. But again, with mini ITX, we don't have any of those concerns. The case is a mini ITX case, and the motherboard's a mini ITX motherboard. That means all the standoffs are in the only place they can be.
Is it similar to like if you spill water on this, because water is a conductor, when power goes, everything?
I'm going to get a little nerdy.
Okay.
Water is not a conductor.
Okay.
The impurities in water are the conductor. So if you had purely distilled, filtered, 100% perfectly clear water, mm-hmm. you could submerge your electronics in it and they would work.
Okay.
So what I like to do, I like to use analogies, and the reason I come off like that is because I was very quickly corrected by there's a couple of nerds on the internet, there's a few of them, and I said, water, it sort of has this effect of amplifying electricity. If you shock yourself, it hurts, but if you're standing in a puddle of water and you shock yourself, it's much worse. And it was an analogy I was using. It wasn't technically accurate, and so I was really attacked. And now I'm attacking you because it was happening to me. So anyway, no, technically it's the impurities in water. Water itself is not conductive. They even have oil-based, where they use like a mineral oil. And instead of using a cooling fan, they submerge the whole computer. Instead of in a case, they have it like mounted to a frame, and it goes into like an aquarium, and it keeps it cool.
Okay.
That's insane.
Similar idea to nuclear power plants?
Oh, I don't know anything about nuclear power.
Okay.
That's way over my pay grade. I know it involves spent rods and plutonium, and then immediately I go to Back to the Future in a DeLorean. Somehow that all ties in. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the motherboard into this case, and to do that, we need to make sure. You see those cables right here?
Yeah, these
They're going to be in our way.
Yeah.
So I need you to get those out of the way.
Okay. In any way. Oh, there's a tie there. That's why.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to just say hello to the chat. Looks like we've got 1,100 people watching. And a lot of moderators in today. David Cribb. Of course, Douglas Biggers, Catherine Anna Hauserman.
Okay.
I saw Brytech in there. I don't know if Brytech's still in there. Patrick Manny says hello. Kyle Hedinger says hi, Carrie. Martin Green says some more contributions, Carrie. Samuel Ramos saying hello. Luke Chafee says hello. Curtis Jones Jr. says, time for me to dip my PC in clear, pure water then. Well, you go right ahead. And then we're going to reiterate the contributions. Douglas is making me aware of some contributions I may not be aware of. Stephen Anderson has contributed $2. John Babcock has contributed $2. Stephen Anderson has contributed $20. Two Guns contributed €1. Truly God's Grace has contributed $2. Thank you, everybody, for the contributions. Brian has confirmed he's still hanging out. Awesome. Thanks for joining. Always a thrill to have fellow YouTube creators and techs joining. And of course, I can't name all 1,100 people watching, but hello to everybody.
Canada, Brazil, and Albania.
Brazil and Albania?
Yeah.
And what's sad is their internet connection's probably better than mine. Greetings from Norway. My wife's family, her DNA is all Norwegian, so that's her dream, is to go to Norway. What would you expect from somebody blonde? Of course they're from Norway. Martinez PL says, hi from Poland. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Live across the world.
Italy, Maryland, Romania, Netherlands, Finland, Italy, and more.
Ireland.
Macedonia.
Yeah.
That one was in all caps, so.
They haven't got lowercase technology in Macedonia yet. Morocco.
Portugal.
Bangladesh. Turkey. Can't look at what's happening in the chat now. Everybody's typing where they're from.
It's really cool.
Novak. Novak, is that a place? He's a tennis player, isn't he?
Lithuania.
Yeah. Peru.
Belfast. The
Denmark.
moon.
The moon. Someone's watching from the Moon Men.
Yeah, I think they win the farthest distance.
I wonder what their internet's like. Is that dial-up? Scotland? Spain?
South Africa, I think. Ontario.
Oh, it looks like Elon Musk is watching from Mars.
We got the sun, that's got to be even.
The sun.
Yeah.
Brian's on Pluto, and I believe that's actually a place in Britain.
Okay. Oh, I get it.
Never mind. So here's what we're going to do. To get this motherboard mounted into position, the way I do it is I'm going to put the motherboard in on an angle like this to line these holes up with these holes. And once they've lined up, then I set it flat.
Okay.
But you're going to do it. And I'm going to try and hold the camera. Here's where we're going to get a little crazy. I've never done this on a live feed.
Can I move your trash can?
Yes.
Thank you. That's a lot easier.
We're gonna go with the action cam now. As long as I don't trip over any wires. Here we go.
Okay, and I can pick it up like that?
That's a great, I didn't even tell you that, but yes, holding it by the heatsink is the best way to hold it because you don't have to worry about any anti-static discharge.
Okay. Line them up, which is further down. Is that along the lines of it?
Yeah. Well, you gotta think about it. You're gonna have to plug stuff in here, right?
There we go. I fixed it. And
let's see, do the holes line up with the standoffs to the holes in the motherboard? You can see through them?
Yep.
Very good. So that bag of screws that we just had that we were using to put the power supply in?
Yeah.
What did I do with those? Do you remember?
I don't.
Is this them?
Are those the smaller ones?
Are those the coarse thread or the fine thread?
Coarse thread.
Those. So we guess how many of those we need?
4.
And
a screwdriver.
A screwdriver. Very good.
I might need another hand to hold it in place while I put this in,
I think
but
you
I'll
can
try.
do it on your own.
Yeah.
Make you do it the hard way. Can't you see I'm busy holding a camera?
I mean, I'm busy holding stuff too.
I'm just teasing you.
I am too.
Don't tighten them down, because you're still going to have to wiggle the board around potentially to get the other holes to line up properly.
There we go. And then the corner, because if both corners line up, then everything else lines up.
But you don't have to worry about doing this, tightening them down in any particular order. The only time that was important was on the heatsink.
Okay.
No other part of the build process doesn't matter.
There we go.
See guys, this is what my videos would kind of look like if I had a cameraman. They said you're a mild back talker.
Me? Mild? What?
You said, you mean I'm a holesman? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. When I was little, I got in trouble for talking back, but no one explained what that meant.
You do know you're still little. I mean, height-wise, you're a Holzman. You'll always be little.
I mean, I'm around your height.
Yes. Most
With
children
heels.
are. What's your point?
That's fair.
Not a high bar to achieve. No, we really can't see eye to eye.
Which is weird. I'm not used to being able to see people's faces.
You're used to looking up their noses?
Yep.
Well,
How tight should these be?
until they don't turn anymore. You don't want to torque it down. Remember, so here's the point. The whole point of those screws is to keep that motherboard from ever moving.
Got it.
So you want them tight enough that when you pick the case up and move it around from one location to the next, you're going to drive it back to California on your way home or back to Oregon. And as the fan turns, there's a little vibration. You don't want those screws to just sort of wiggle free, but you don't want to over tighten it to the point where you crush the motherboard or strip out the screws.
Okay.
So it's always a tough question to answer unless you have some sort of measuring device which would be impractical and unnecessary to say, you want this at a torque setting of 3, then it would require special tools, right? So you did a good job there. Everything looks great. Everything is exactly how I would have done it myself.
Yeah.
Which is good. How you feeling?
Pretty excited.
Yeah?
Yeah, we're making pretty decent time.
We're doing
and
really good on
most of
time.
this is like, well, as far as I'm aware of, a lot of this is pretty put together.
Do you want to, you can take a little, you got a bottle of water over there?
Yeah. I've been taking sips.
I'm looking through the comments to see what we're missing. Some people are just now joining us. They have no idea what's going on. If you're just joining us, we're building a Ryzen 5 1600 computer. It's going to be used in a dorm room, and joining me is my niece. Her name is Camille. She goes to
Willamette University.
Is it Willamette or Willamette?
Willamette, damn it.
Willamette, damn it.
Yeah. I stole that one from Dad, though.
And Willamette is in
Salem, Oregon.
Salem. Isn't that where they have witches?
That's what I thought. Like,
Yeah.
we were driving past Salem, and I'm like, I'm not going to school where the witch trials happened, but it turns out that this handy little state, Massachusetts, maybe?
I've heard of
East Coast is way
Massachusetts.
over there. Turns out there are other Salems.
I think Winston-Salem, because that was the name of a cigarette. Isn't that North Carolina? They make the tobacco out there?
I don't know what North Carolina does.
Let me stick to what I do know, and that's computers, because otherwise people will know how stupid I am. See, this keeps them fooled. They think I know stuff because I can do this. But this is so easy, anybody can do it, which is why we make this video. And
The
again,
motherboard was difficult, though.
what's that?
Putting the motherboard together was a bit difficult, though. Like, out of everything.
What was difficult about putting the motherboard together? Was it that the amount of pressure you had to put the RAM in, or was it just the scary nature of the value of those parts?
Value of the parts combined with not intuitively going, oh, this goes here, this goes here. Whereas almost everything else so far has been kind of, oh, that goes there, this goes here, just connect it together.
But intuition varies from one person to the other, to the next.
Fair.
And the next time you build one, it will be intuitive because you have a basis upon which to refer to.
Okay.
That's the thing about intuition. When someone says, oh, Windows is intuitive, the interfaces, to who?
Yeah.
But I'm always interested in the perspective of a first-time builder and what is easier than you thought, what's harder than you thought, so that you can share your experience and other people will, who relate better to you than to me, then go, well, now I believe, you know what I mean? Or now I can connect. So that's what the board looks like installed. This is a really neat case.
Yeah.
For a mini ITX case, you know, my concern, especially for a first-time builder, is they're very tight and confining. This case is not. This case has a lot of room to work in there, so I still wouldn't recommend a mini ITX build for a first-time builder unless you have guidance like you do. But you can do it. Just plan accordingly, I guess is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And with the board installed, we have a couple choices. We can, if we put the video card in now, it may be difficult to work around it to do the cabling. So it may be better to do the cabling right now.
Yeah.
And we still have to, so here's what we have to do now. We have to hook up the front port switches and LEDs. We have to hook up power to the storage devices and data cables to the storage devices. And then we have to hook up power to the motherboard. So we have the power supply installed,
But it's not hooked up.
but we haven't hooked anything up yet.
Yeah.
So, and this is the part that intimidates most people. They see this big nest of wires and they're just like, oh my God, I can never do that.
Cut the red wire. There is no red wire.
I'm colorblind. Now you tell me. What I advise people is we just handle it one cable at a time. Don't freak out. Don't let your anxiety get the best of you.
Yep.
Before you know it, when you just do one cable at a time, you will end up with a rat's nest that looks really complex when it's over with. But as you're doing it, it totally makes sense one thing at a time.
Yeah. If this looks like it connects to this, then it, well, possibly
In most
does.
cases, if the connector fits, in most cases you have it in the right place. There's a few exceptions, but mostly that's the way it works. And that's why there's no justification for that fear. I'm just taking a real quick look. Before we start the wiring, I just want to take a quick look in the chat. Oh, I guess everybody just saw Jimmy come in. Jimmy's laying down over there. Yeah, look at all the people. They get so excited to see the dog. Maybe that's what I'm going to just turn my channel into. We're not even going to build computers anymore. We're just going to put the cameras on the dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of see them right there
I
behind you.
saw the age comment asking if I was somewhere between 16 and 20, and I'm like, super glad they didn't guess 14 this time. Get that one a lot.
You are 19, right?
Yeah.
19 years old. You're in college.
And I have the credits of a senior and could have graduated next fall if I decided to choose graduating early over work experience.
And she's a lot smarter than me. There you have it. Having a blonde girl doubles your viewers.
I mean, it's bleached, but thank you.
Shh, it's natural. Carrie, you should multicast on Twitch. I don't have the bandwidth for that. But what'll probably happen is an archive of this will be made available, and I'll stream the video over to Twitch. You are now the new apprentice.
Prettier than you.
You better be. I feel really bad for you if you weren't prettier than me. I would think, man, that girl's going to have a hard life ahead of her. Oh, we're getting some comments on your couture.
Yeah, we found it in Canada and was just like, I'll wear this until it dies.
Nice. So you got a souvenir from Canada.
Yeah.
They want to know what games you like.
Generally the games vary depending on my mood. For example, I got Crypt of the Necrodancer from my brother a few days ago for Christmas, and it's a roguelike where you go into a dungeon and you kill things, but you have to kill things to the rhythm of the music, and you can add your own music. But that's one of those games
It's like
where...
Baby Driver, but for a video game.
Exactly. It's one of those that you play for like 5 minutes, go, okay, I'm done, look around, try to find something else to do, and then go play it for another 5 minutes on repeat. But other times I like games more like Skyrim. When I first got that for the Xbox 360, in the first 3, 4, 5 days I'd already had like 60 hours. Staying up until 4 in the morning, waking up at 9, playing every time in between. It builds up. So it really just depends on if I want to focus on a longer game and like play that for hours, or play a shorter game. But I generally stick towards role-playing games.
All right. Did we answer their questions? Can we get on with the build? Let's see. Have
Not
you played
Fallout 4. I think I tried Fallout 3 and didn't have the time to like actually get into it because, you know, college. It's on my list of games to try playing again once I have a little bit more free time.
Try Armello if you haven't.
Vampire?
Try
Yeah.
Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines.
Yeah, I'm definitely going through the live chat once
Mage.
I have my computer with me.
Oh, that's somebody's name. Have you played Cuphead? Cuphead is really weird.
Yeah.
Weird. Let's make a video game like it's 1931.
Oh, is that the one with the awesome soundtrack?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
They were playing it in the
Because
car
there's
on the
just
way up
one
here.
game that has a good soundtrack. See, to
Okay.
me, the game with the good soundtrack is Grand Theft Auto. That's me.
Okay.
Cuphead is just weird. It's almost like let's do as many mind-altering drugs as possible and make a video game inspired by our freedom of thought.
I know people who do that.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
And let's add little film effects that make it look like you're watching an old film.
Huh.
Yeah. Merrick showed that to me. I'll just leave it at that.
He's, what, 13, 14?
14.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Gonna be learning to drive next year.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that little wire tie off of there. You always wanna remove all wire ties, even if it's something you're not, like something that you wanna keep tied up, use a nylon zip tie, replace, we're not gonna do it now, but I'm saying, and the reason for that is there's actual wire in the wire tie. And over time, it can get brittle, it can fall off, and then you have basically a piece of metal floating around your electronics. And if it lands in the wrong place, even though you may have never opened the computer, it just gets brittle over time. It can break apart, it can float around in there, short something out, and toast your whole motherboard.
In that case, while putting things together, I noticed the power cord has one of those ties. But depending on where it plugs in, would it be best to keep the tie there, plug it in, and then replace it with that, or to take everything apart and then put it back together?
Yeah, take the tie off. It's good to leave it tied up well. We're working to keep the cable out of our way and we don't pinch it.
Yeah.
But now that we're into the cabling, let's get the wire tie off of each cable as we approach it,
Oh, okay.
so that when we're done, there are no wire ties left.
Okay.
Right? That's how I do it. You can do it any way you want. But the way I do it is I just cross bridges when I get to them. And when I'm all done, if there's, I just give it a once over to make sure if I've missed, let's say there's a fan we're not going to use. There won't be, but let's say there is. We could then replace the wire tie with a zip tie before we button everything up. That's just part of cable management. That's done at the end. And yeah, go ahead and take that wire tie off and chuck it.
Okay. There we go. Your dogs don't eat random things on the floor, right?
Only food.
Okay.
If it's not edible, they won't eat it.
Okay.
They're not rodents.
We spill something.
I like to think my dogs are smart because they know not to eat things that's not food.
Yeah.
Oh, I do see another fan header now. Do you see it?
Yeah, this one?
No, the fan header, the thing we plugged into. Remember
Yeah.
I was looking for one?
Yeah.
There's another one right there.
Oh.
So that's going to be for we could probably plug this fan into there.
Okay.
I just noticed it.
Would we do that now or later?
Doesn't matter. I think for right now, though, just because because we're on camera, we're showing people how to do this. I don't want to be like ADD.
Yeah,
Let's continue where we started. Well, no, I want to continue on the path that we've already led people down, which is we're getting ready to hook main power up, right? I had you just take the wire tie off of the power supply here. Go ahead and pull those cables out. Grab them both. This is the time now to make sure they're not tangled within each other, that they're free. Now that connector that you're holding in your hand, we can pick this up here.
Okay.
There's a very large connector. There's only one
Yeah.
that looks anywhere like that.
Yes.
And it's got a clip on one side, and the connector is going to have a little ridge. Typically, it's towards the edge of the board, not typically on the inside. If it was on the inside, it would make it very difficult to release it.
Okay.
And what you're going to do is you're going to orientate. Orientate? Is that a word?
Orient.
Isn't that a place, the Orient? I don't know. You're going to take this and you're going to rotate it. We'll find another word.
Until this fits into
So
there.
we're going to route the cable around the fan,
Okay.
right? It's interesting how they did this. There's 4 separate cables all going into this one connector. Don't worry about, like I said, we're going to cable manage it later, but for right now, we just want to make it clear that we don't, for example, if I brought this in over this,
Yeah.
you understand the problem we're going to have. So all I want you to do in this part of the build process is think a little bit about your cable management by making sure that cables are not intertwined right now. getting the cable sort of in the direction that you need it to be.
Yep.
This can only go on one direction. This connector actually has little square,
Yeah, and
little
rounded
ends
ones.
yeah, so that it only will go in one way. And then what you're going to do is you're going to need to use a little bit of muscle.
Okay.
And again, this is part of what working on a mini ITX case is so difficult, is you've got to get down in this little tight little spot here, right? In that direction, you're going to line it up, and then you're going to push it down and kind of wiggle and push at the same time, and you should hear that click. And if you're not sure, you just give this a tug and see if it falls off. If it falls off, it wasn't on.
Are we doing the close-up video-y thing?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Let me grab the camera. Man, look at this mess on the floor. People just throwing stuff.
I wonder who.
I'm telling you, it's
Must be all of them.
not right.
Should go in that direction because it's got the.
Ooh, I think I can get a neat little angle right here. Go ahead.
Yep, it's in. So
I think it can be seated down a little more. I don't think that clip is all the way down. Now it is.
yeah,
I just saw it go in.
this is going to probably need to go that way-ish. And then there's this cable, which also, does this hook into the motherboard too?
It does. You see it on the side of that cable, what it says?
On the side it says CPU.
So that's power for the CPU,
Okay.
which is weird because it's plugging into the motherboard. So you'd think it would be motherboard power. And where do you think that goes?
Let's see, this has 8 pins right there. Where the tie
I
is.
can't see.
Okay.
I'm just going to guess that wherever you're pointing at is probably right.
It's the only thing I see with 8.
Yeah, it'll be the only place it'll go. Just pay attention to which side the clip is going to clip down on. You're going to have to look at the connector on the board.
Yep. It has, this has rounded.
Well, I was going to say you can actually feel the edge to feel where the ridge is, or you can do it the other way.
Let's see. And it clicked.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah.
Check your work. Yeah, my angle on this is really bad. I think the viewers and you can see it much better than I can. But yes, that is correct. Now, we've got motherboard power and CPU power. So there's 2 of your cables already hooked up that easily. It does kind of stink that that cable's got to be routed in a weird, I'm not even sure how we're going to do that yet, but don't even worry about that yet.
Okay. And then the next
What else you
cable I
got?
see is this one, which goes to the fan.
You want to hook that fan up?
It looks like it would hook up pretty simply.
It's going to go on this fan header right over there. So you're going to take that wire tie off first and foremost.
Yeah. And
You're
then
going to see there's a little groove on the plug that's going to line up with the groove on the connector.
on this plug. I see 4 prongs and this one has 3.
Yes, but that's why the grooves are there, so that you know which of the 3 of the 4 to use. Some fans have 3 wires, some fans have 4. So the connector has 4, and the little thing guides you to which of the. First of all, it guides you to which direction the cable goes on, and it also guides you versus whether you have a 3-pin or 4-pin. Of course, a fan only requires positive and negative. So what's the 3rd and 4th wire for? And why is it optional on the 4th wire? What do you think?
So one does. So they both do. The 2 of them do power.
No. Well, 2 positive and negative.
Positive and negative, and then.
And then what's the 3rd wire for?
I have no idea.
It actually measures. I think it's impedance. It tells it how fast the fan is spinning,
Okay.
and it can then send a signal to tell it to speed up or slow down.
And that's
And
what
the
the 4th
fourth
is.
wire, PWM is what that's referred to, that does basically the same thing with more granularity. With a 3-wire, you can't completely stop the fan. With a 4-wire, you could completely, you have more fan control. That's why it's optional, and that's why fan headers are 4 pins to accommodate whether you're using 3-pin fans or 4-pin fans. 4-pin fans, just more controllable,
Okay.
right? So, what else we got to hook up?
What other
You got all
ports
those,
in here?
what I call umbilicals. That's all the front port switches and wires.
Yeah, that's what this is.
I have a strange carpet. What are you doing, Jimmy? Jimmy. No, you don't have to get up. Oh, I just wanted you to look. Oh, he's going to stretch. There he's stretching. All right, sorry. Distraction. Squirrel.
This also plugs into the motherboard, right? Everything plugs into the motherboard.
Why do you think it's called the motherboard or the main board?
That's fair.
Every single thing plugs into the main board at some point.
Says,
So what have you got? What's the connector say on it?
connector says HD audio. It has 9 pins.
So what do you think that does? What do you think it's for?
I think it's, well, I'm pretty sure it's for the this front panel.
Yes.
But is it only for the audio of that front panel?
Yes, just the headphone and microphone jack.
Okay.
So on the motherboard, where do you think that goes?
Let me see. This one. Because it's missing a pin and this one's also missing a pin.
You are correct.
Okay.
See, a lot of people would go read the manual. We don't need no stinking manual. Again, you kind of wiggle it and push down and it should sit completely down against the motherboard.
I think it
It's
is.
just a friction fit.
Do you want to double check and make sure?
Yeah, feels good. That one's hooked up, so there's your front port audio. I'll tell you what I would have done differently. I might have gone underneath these power cables. I don't know. It doesn't matter for right now. What else you got in there? Got some more cables.
There is these cables, which probably plug in right next to the audio cable.
I don't know.
Because I think
It
this is
varies
for the USB
from motherboard
ports.
to motherboard. What do you got?
It's more pins than I am able to count very quickly.
Okay, that looks like a 20-pin USB 3. Where
Yeah.
do you think that's going to go?
That's gonna go, let's see, are there 20 pins anywhere on here? Right there, next to the multicolored ones.
You are correct. However, if you put that on right now, putting those multicolored ones on are going to be difficult with that in the way. So I would suggest we don't do that
Okay.
in this order yet. It varies, like I say, from motherboard to motherboard. So on some builds, you could have done that. Now what you've got there are all your front switches and LEDs. You've got a power switch, reset switch, hard drive LED, and power LED.
Power LED, and then this one is power, and this is hard drive.
Okay. So you don't want those routed where you've got them.
Yeah.
Okay. Now on that connector with all the colors.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Oh, that is
You see how,
interesting.
so the reason that why it's, let's see if I can zoom in on that. Come on. You might actually see it on the monitor better than you can see it in real life if I can get this darn thing to focus. Okay.
Yeah, you can see some colors, but it's blurry.
It should go into focus here in a minute.
It's focused.
Okay, so you see the red?
Yeah,
Okay, you see how it goes over 2 pins?
like this one, but also like this one.
No, I want you to just pay attention to the connector.
Okay.
I mean to the connector.
Okay.
That's showing you that the cables are going to go on horizontally and not vertically, right? You're going to put one of those connectors is going to completely cover the red area.
Yeah.
One of the connectors is going to cover the green area. One of them is going to cover the blue area. And one of them is going to cover the light green, right?
Okay.
Now, the red one is where we're going to start first.
Okay.
That's your hard drive LED. That's going to blink
Hard drive
anytime you're
LED.
reading or writing data to the hard drive or solid state drive. And you'll see that the LED, here's a little trivia. LED is short for light emitting diode.
Okay.
A diode is a device that only allows electricity to flow in one direction. If you put that on backwards, you won't hurt anything, but your LED will never light up. It'll never turn on.
Even if you take it out and put it in the other way, or can you not take any of these out?
Everything you do is reversible. I'm simply stating if you get the polarity wrong, if you put the positive wire on the negative side, your LED won't work. You won't damage anything. It just won't work.
Okay. I see there's an arrow. Does that indicate,
Show me the, let's see if we can get it to focus.
let's see.
Yeah, I see the arrow now. That indicates the positive side, and good on you for detecting that on your own. It's so subtle, most people don't see it. Most cases and most manufacturers would have one wire with a white stripe or a different color wire to indicate positive, but Corsair likes to use that little indicator on the connector itself. You need to make sure that that little arrow faces the outside edge of that red part of the connector.
So it would be
And
like...
the camera's going to be in your way, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Let's
is.
see if I can raise it up a little bit.
So it would be facing the fan. Where the arrow is on the...
Actually, you know what? Let's do the top row first, because I'm just looking at that and I'm thinking, when we get that connector on, the one above it's going to be harder.
Okay.
Remember, so the build process is just a little different with Mini ITX, because I would normally put that hard drive LED on, and that's the way it's going to go and where it's going to go.
Okay.
But let's put the LED on that goes above the hard drive LED. That's the power LED.
Let's see, power LED.
Now the power LED is split, and that's because where is it? Where is it?
Right here.
It's split because some motherboards, it's going to focus in a minute, I hope. Come on, camera. One of those has got a positive and one of those has got a negative. I can't really see that on there. It is.
Oh, power LED minus power LED plus.
Right, and you can push them together.
Okay. Do they stick to each other?
No, you just have to kind of hold it together yourself.
Okay.
And positive is going to go on the green above the red,
Green above the red.
with the positive towards the outside edge.
Okay.
And so the hard drive LED is going to go on the red one with the positive also on the outside edge. See, positive above positive, negative above negative. This is pretty standard on most motherboards, this layout.
Okay.
Some people, they just don't know if the connector goes on horizontally or vertically, and that's what those colors are there to guide you. So go ahead.
Okay. So I'd be doing it with the words facing outward.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
That's your preference.
On the light green or the dark green?
The one above the red.
Above from your angle?
Above from my angle, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. There's some different perspectives. And this is a hard thing to film because it is a tiny case, and of course you're just going to pretty much see the back of somebody's hand for most of it, but...
And then it goes on where that one's negative and this one's positive. I haven't snapped them in just in case I'm misunderstanding. So I have the positive one going here. Wait, the positive one going here, and the negative one going
I can just see the back of your
here.
hand. I'll have to wait till you're done.
Okay. I didn't push them down all the way.
Let's see what you got going on here. Where did it go? Camera doesn't want to focus on it. Oop. So you got the positive towards the outside edge, right?
Let me see.
Closest to the front of the case. Positive.
Yeah.
Go ahead and push it straight down.
Okay. And then the negative's right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then take that hard drive LED, and it's going to go on right below that with the positive also just below the positive on the power. Basically towards the positive is going to be closest to the front of the case.
Okay.
And those are the only two things where positive and negative matter. Switches don't have the switches actually say positive and negative, but they don't have a positive or negative.
Okay. So power switch would be what color?
It'll say power switch on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then on the color, it's going to go right next to the power LED.
Okay.
Same top row.
So the other green, and then the other one's blue?
Gosh darn it, I can't see anything. It's a tough angle to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be, usually blue is reset. I might have to check the motherboard manual, but traditionally, the power switch goes besides the power LED, and then the reset switch will go below that next to the hard drive LED.
Okay, so the power switch would go on bottom from your angle.
It goes right below the power, right beside the next two pins, beside the power LED, should be the power switch.
Yeah.
And then the two pins below that, which are right beside the hard drive LED,
Yeah.
should be the reset switch, which should be the final connector you've got there.
Okay. I can look through here.
Now that's mostly a standard that most motherboard manufacturers follow, but people can always go back to their motherboard manual. You know, you can go online to the to the manufacturer's website and pull up the manual in PDF form, which might be a little clearer than the manual they give you printed with the board. Let me just check your work there. You can see it does start to look a little bit like a rat's nest here. And again, this is part of the fun of dealing with a mini ITX case, is the cable management. We will figure that out later. We're not worried about that yet.
Yeah.
There's no sense making your cables all pretty if your system doesn't work.
And then this is the last one that we have in here.
And that's your USB 3. And
Yeah.
of course, you know where that goes now, right? It's only going to go on one direction. You'll see it's got a notch on one side.
Yeah, and the notch falls into the notch like the others have. So it goes in this way, and I'll move that out of the way. Putting the fan in is what is in the way. Just the notches that way, and that says USB 3.0.
Let's see if I can come in from another angle.
Do you have any advice as to how to get this one in?
Well, do you have the notch in the right
notch?
direction?
Yep.
So just line it up and then push it down until it clicks.
Yeah, it's not wanting to line up.
Are all the pins straight in the connector, or any, not in that part, in the other part that has the pins? Are they straight?
Yes.
Okay.
It looks like one's missing,
Yep, one should be missing.
which would go with this bottom one that's missing.
It's just a matter of lining it up, and then you got to use a little muscle to, because the only thing that holds that in is friction. There's no latch.
Yeah. Okay. I
Did you
think
get
I
it?
did it right.
Usually,
Would
usually you hear it. Not always, though. Yeah, it's in there. It's good.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let me just set this back for a moment because it's getting heavy. And let's see if we can straighten this out a little bit. Okay. So we've got power hooked up to the motherboard. We have our, what I call the front port umbilicals. That's your front USB, your front power switch, front reset switch.
Chad is saying to double check them.
Double check the, what?
The umbilicals for being in the right place.
Oh, I was going to check that because on some motherboards they don't necessarily follow the right order. So we'll pull the motherboard manual out and we'll just verify that we haven't put anything in the wrong place. It won't hurt anything, it just won't work right,
Yeah.
you know. If a power switch is where an LED should be, the switch isn't going to work and the LED is not going to light up. Okay, so here's our diagram.
Yeah. We have
And it shows, remember, it shows this is the way it looks.
Yeah.
Hard drive LED is on the bottom row with the positive facing the edge of the board, yes? No, I'm saying here on the paperwork.
Oh. Positive is up. That one, negative's down.
It's exactly like it is. This is in the same direction as that.
Okay.
Power LED positive, yeah, everything looks like we've hooked it up correctly. Let me show people, like, what are they looking at? So here in the manual, I gotta flip this around so I can see. Here in the manual, it shows right here. It's the standard layout. We've hooked it up correctly. If it'll focus, there it goes. So basically, hard drive LEDs on the bottom, power LEDs above it. It's the standard layout. They said the red is on the wrong way. Did they see something I can't? They have a better view than I do. I might need a flashlight.
I have a phone that doubles as a flashlight.
Yeah, every phone.
Yeah.
All right, let's use a flashlight that works as a flashlight and doesn't work as a phone. Let's see if the chat says that the hard drive LED is on I don't know if they could see it that clearly to know that.
They said, yeah, they could see the plus marking.
Well, let's check and see if they're right. I'm going to pull the hard drive connector up.
Okay.
No, you had it right. The chat room's got it wrong.
It says LED on backwards.
Nope, it's not. It is not on backwards. Not for the hard drive anyway.
Okay.
Nope, you got it right.
Okay. And is there another fan port for this front fan?
I don't think so. No, the hard drive LED was, you did it correctly. Again, the positive wire goes towards the edge.
Mm-hmm.
And if the light doesn't light up, we'll fix it. But it looks right to me.
Okay.
So, all right. Okay, so there's that. We don't need this wire tie. Now we're about ready that we can, before we take the build much further, we don't need to hook power or data up to the drives yet, because there's no point in doing that if the board won't boot up or do what's called a power on self-test or post, P-O-S-T. How long are we going? We're going 2 hours and 27 minutes already.
Yeah.
Wow. What time is it?
4:16.
So we've got about 45 minutes, and we're going to have to continue the rest of this tomorrow.
Okay.
So I think what we're going to do for the end of today, we're not going to go any further than this, other than to see if what we've done so far will power on.
Okay.
And if it powers on, then we can continue the cabling tomorrow, along with, I can do some of this cable management tonight to get some of this out of the way.
That would be good.
And then, of course, we have the operating system to install drivers, etc. But none of that matters if the system won't turn on in post. And because this does not have onboard graphics, this CPU does not. The motherboard does, because other AMD CPUs, not the Ryzen line, but the generation before that this motherboard is compatible with, do have what's called APUs, which are basically graphics chips in the CPU chip. Because we don't have that, we have to hook a video card up.
Okay.
And so here we've got the ZOTAC. This is the GeForce GTX 1050 Ti that you've selected. What were you going to say?
Just this is the last cable that's loose right now. We have one more. It's to the fan in the front.
Yeah, don't worry about that for right now.
Leave it.
Just for right now, we'll deal with that later. We might be in a situation where we either will have to get an adapter to plug that directly into the power supply, and I can just double check the motherboard manual to see if there's a second fan header. When we deal with these small motherboards, there's usually not very many fan headers, so it's weird that they've given us two case fans when they know, Corsair, the people who make the case, knows most mini ITX motherboards only have one additional fan header. So that's weird that they went that way, or that they didn't give us a fan controller that we just hooked the power supply up to.
Okay.
That's a weird choice, but maybe there's a second fan header I'm not seeing on this board. I don't know. All right, now, these people like to spend your money. They're saying 1050 is not good for gaming.
Right now I've been gaming on a MacBook Pro, so almost literally any game card or any graphics card would be better than what I'm working with now.
It's funny how attitude changes, because if you had a GTX 550 Ti 8 years ago, you'd be like, that thing's great for gaming. If you use it now, they'd go, what are you, insane? You can't game with that. So people are often freewheeling to spend your money to tell you, you really should have a GTX 1080, you know. Well, you pay for it then.
Yeah.
Then they're not so quick to, Anyway,
It's possible there's an upgrade in the future, but right now
it's easy to
just,
upgrade. You can always
yeah.
upgrade it later. You can upgrade it to an 1180 when those come out, or a 1280, or an 8080. Go ahead and take the graphics card out of the box.
Okay. Oh, this one hasn't been. Wait, has it? Do you still have your box cutter knife?
I should have cut the tape, didn't I?
Nope, not for this one.
Are you sure? Let me see this. Sure does look like I cut the tape.
Never mind.
Don't worry. It's not like 1,000 people were watching you.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
like they're important. That was a joke.
You did say that. Of course they're important. We love our viewers.
What's the disc for? I mean, we're probably not using it, but what does it do?
That's got the driver. So a driver tells a piece of hardware how to speak to your operating, or tells your operating system how to speak to a piece of hardware.
Okay.
So a printer has a driver, a chipset has a driver, video card has a driver, sound card has a driver, network card has a driver. All of these different devices have drivers.
This is not what I was expecting. Huh.
It isn't? What were you
No.
expecting?
Oh, I just
Balloons?
didn't know how a graphics card looked.
Well, that one's a small one. A lot of times they're, especially those 1080s are talking about in the chat, that can be like this long, which this case will support, no problem. Is there a power connector? It would be towards the back, or is this going to run strictly off of? Let's see. Good. There's one less wire we have to worry about. I'm happy with that. And you're holding it correctly. So
Yeah, I
where
grabbed
you
it like
want to
this,
avoid.
though.
No, that's okay. This you can grab.
Or this.
You try, yeah. And again, the world doesn't end because you did. Just
Okay.
if you realize you're doing it, stop the minute you realize it and hold it better. Now, where this is going to go, let me have you step around a little bit so everybody can see. There's one place it can go. There's one socket. You see that socket right there, the red socket with the metal?
Yeah.
This is a new thing. Manufacturers have started to reinforce this because the graphics cards are getting so heavy that it potentially breaks the socket. So a lot of modern motherboards now put a metal frame around to reinforce the strength of the socket. And there's, just like the memory, you looking? Just like the memory, there's a retention lever.
Okay.
This retention lever must be in the open position. The graphics card, you'll see it's keyed. It's got,
That way?
yeah, well, obviously you need to be able to plug your graphics card into your monitor into your graphics card. So that's what these connectors are for.
Okay.
And then you'll see you've got two slots on the back. Which of those two slots has to be removed? Which of these two covers? Well, let's get this out of
This
the way of
one.
the camera because nobody can see when you do that.
This one. The one closest to the motherboard, because it's right next to each other. But,
Okay,
oh, I see, okay.
Let's take that out.
Okay. Can I pass this off to you?
Just set it right on the box.
Okay.
Set it. There you go.
It looks like both come out at the same time, unless I'm reading this wrong. Is it okay to pull the second? Okay.
This varies from case to case. I can tell from looking at it from behind that there's a little piece that moves up and down back here that holds those two panels into place.
Okay, which means that after this is taken out, we can remove one panel, keep the second one. Okay.
But we don't want to put the screws in.
Whoop.
They'll get away from you.
That goes up and down. This comes out. And that's where the graphics card will be.
Do the honors.
Okay.
Remember, you got to make sure that retention lever is in the open position.
Right. This is open.
Yep.
Everything's good.
You see there's you see how that metal comes down, it narrows? It's going to go in front of the board, between the board and the case.
The metal narrows.
This down here, on this metal piece, where the end of my finger?
Yeah.
See how it narrows at the
Yeah.
bottom? There's like a little slot it's going to go between,
Here.
right down in there.
Okay.
And then this piece has to be raised. And then you want to line up, no, you're not in the socket.
That would be lined up.
No, you're not quite lined up. You got to back it up just a, yep. No, now you're better. There you go.
Oh.
Now just push, straight down, you should hear it click into place. Why isn't it clicking into place?
Oh, was I being too gentle?
Yeah, I think you're just being a little too gentle.
Okay.
There, did you hear it click?
Yeah.
Should I take it out and have you do it?
I think I know where to put it.
I don't believe you. Show me.
Okay.
I've answered my own question. I want you to build it, not me. But sometimes it helps to see it done first.
Yeah. Okay. This goes...
So remember, line up the socket first.
Socket first.
No, see, what's happening is you're seating it too soon.
Yeah, I'm trying to get
this has to be raised up on this case. This is just unique to this case, this piece.
Okay.
So this has to go up.
That has to go up in order for this to go down.
And then you want to put this in this slot first.
Okay.
Right? Somehow, some way you want to.
Put this in the top, but then
Just
the
like
bottom
that.
part.
Now line up the bottom part.
Does it go out of the box or inside? Or the case? Inside the case, I see. And then it's lined up. And...
Come stand where I'm standing.
Okay.
I think your angle's a little funky. And then push the card straight down.
Oh, I see. There we go.
Now you can lower that back down. That's going to secure the card. And use your 2 thumb screws and put those back where they were.
Put that way.
And look, we have another Go Faster sticker. If you take all these Go Faster stickers and stick them all over the side of your case, it'll look like a NASCAR. And it'll move like one too.
There we go.
There's a Dale Earnhardt joke in there, but it would be poor taste, so I won't do it.
I wouldn't get the reference.
I wouldn't either.
Which way? That way?
Righties tighties, lefties loosies.
There we go.
That's it.
I'm doing them slowly like we did with the motherboard. Just
Those
to
are
make
just thumb
sure.
screws. They don't, you could have tightened them by hand if you wanted to.
Okay.
It's just gonna mean you're gonna need a screwdriver when it's time for you to upgrade to that 1080. That's fine, that's fine.
Okay.
Now, we have everything completely built to the point where we can do our first power on self-test.
Okay.
The only thing we have left to hook up is power to the drives, data to the drives, that front fan. That's it. And then of course we get the operating system and drivers and all that other fun stuff going.
How do these connect to the
How do the hard
motherboard?
drives connect to the motherboard?
Yeah.
We will cross that bridge later. Don't want to confuse anybody by getting ahead of where we are.
Okay.
The emphasis is really to show how easy it is. And we do that by just handling what's in front of us right now. Let's not anticipate stuff. Let's not have that anxiety. It's all very simple. Everything's
Okay.
been easy so far.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any harder.
Yeah, I was figuring it was like, oh, there's a cable and you just hook it up.
No, well, yes and no. But we don't want to be bothered with that at this point. Not yet.
Okay.
We could actually put the back cover back on,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to do that yet. What I'm going to do is get a monitor up here, and we're going to use this keyboard and mouse.
That monitor?
Yeah, you want to grab it for me?
Yeah.
And then while you do that, I will clean some space here off the counter.
I'm surprised this only has VGA cables. Is it an older monitor?
No, it's an older technician. There is an HDMI, I just don't like to use it.
Okay.
In this case, I don't have a choice. This motherboard, oh, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. We're not looking at the motherboard. See, the motherboard has an HDMI port?
Yep.
Don't make that mistake when you get it home. Don't hook your monitor up there and then call me and ask me why you're not getting any video. You have to plug it into the video card.
Okay, so is this another?
So
these are also
these are-
HDMI.
This is HDMI, this is DisplayPort, and this is DVI. We're going to use the
Okay.
DVI because that's what I have.
Okay.
I know Merrick was like,
I
you have
haven't
to
seen
go
one of those,
HDMI.
but
You guys, kids are making me feel old.
I found, at least with the Xbox 360, with the HDMI, you could see the picture like way more clearly than the VGA cable I was using.
Well, so clearly the HDMI cable is superior. However, we're just doing a power on self-test, and the reason I have the VGA and DVI cables is I run a lot of repairs on older computers that don't have HDMI. And the newer computers typically do have HDMI along with DVI or VGA. And so I don't want to keep switching cables out. So what I do is use the most common cable. I leave that hooked up to the monitor. And that way I don't have to keep changing it because a customer brought me something that's VGA only, you know?
Yeah, makes sense.
And there was one the other day I had that was VGA only that I filmed here.
Oh, no one would send you Macs
So we're
because
gonna
those are...
plug this in right here. And then we
the
need
power
I
cable
need a
is in the
power.
bag.
Well, we're not going to use that one. They're all the same. I've got one laying around. We'll just grab a spare one here.
Okay,
That way we can leave yours.
It's right here, I think.
Here we go. I've got a power cable right here. All right, chat room, place your bets. Is it going to boot? Will it boot? Yeah, that's the cable, but we'll leave it.
Okay. It comes with cable ties, so we have extra of those.
Good. I like extra. We won't have extra when we're done. I will use far more cable ties than they give us, but the fact they give us any at all. So you see what I'm doing? I've switched this power supply to the off position for safety reasons.
Yep.
I hook the monitor up first. I'm going to grab the keyboard and mouse dongle. I've got the wireless dongle. I'm going to grab it here off the streaming machine.
Okay.
And we can plug it in. I could use the front USB, but I'm going to use the back USB just to. And I'm going to. You notice on the back there's black USB ports and blue ones and red ones.
3.0, 3.1, and just
2.0.
Okay.
And you're not going to type any faster. So why not use the black USB 2s for the keyboard and then save your bandwidth for external drives and you got a lot of USBs, 2, 4, 6, 8 plus 2 in the front. Is that going to be enough?
Yeah, I'm running off of 2 right now, but I do have an extender.
All right, so I'm going to flip the switch to the on position. Now, if you hooked all the LEDs and switches up right, and everything we've installed is installed correctly in function. Oh, I have to.
Yeah.
Sorry. Will you plug that in for me?
Totally.
All right, you got me. Good for you. I was just checking. It was a test.
Wow.
It was just a test. It's just making sure you're paying attention. Yeah, that's the ticket. All right, flip that on now. No smoke came out. That's good because computers run on smoke. And if you let the smoke out, it won't run anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know why I keep telling the same joke. It doesn't get any laughs. I just think it's funny.
Maybe it'll be a running gag in the chat.
Yeah, there's probably some gagging going on in the chat. If you go to the power button up on the front and do the honors, let's see what happens.
Power button on the
Wait,
front.
let me get the fire extinguisher.
Which, is it both?
There should be a button that says power. Probably.
I mean, there's a light.
I think that whole thing is the power button. And then this is your reset down here.
Okay.
So the question is, how come it's not turning on? So I want to just double check, make sure that I've got the power cable plugged all the way in. And I do. And we're plugged into the wall, and we are, as the monitor, not that this is irrelevant, but not that it's irrelevant. The monitor's got power. So usually, the reason why this typically happens is we don't have the power connector on the right 2 sets of pins.
Okay.
Usually. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to...
Oh, they commented that earlier that the power one was the red one, right?
Hard drive LED is red.
Oh, okay.
I think the power was green. But the power doesn't have positive or negative. You just have to make sure you have it on the right 2 pins. So if I take a look at your cable work here, and this is very dark, it's very difficult to see. So I want to do 2 things. One, I want to get some magnifying glasses so I can see. And you're going to hold your phone as a light for me.
Yeah.
And we're going to just double check your work. So this one right here should be the power that's power LED, sorry. This one should be the power switch right here. And it is. That should be right. plug the power back in. I am missing something obvious.
Chat mentioned something about, no, the red wire wasn't.
It's like an elevator if you just keep pushing the button over and over and over again.
I mean, the LED's working.
Let me just double check the manual. Everything looks standard to me, but maybe I'm just moving too quickly. Some people freak out at this point. This is not the time to freak out. It's not a big deal. That's right. No connector.
Oh, getting the flashlight back.
Oh, you know what I think? I think it's the other way around.
Where power goes on the bottom and,
No, I'll show you.
okay.
If you look really carefully, it's going to be hard for the camera to pick this up. But you see there's one pin. You see it's purple. You see it all the way down at the bottom.
see.
It's just this one little pin all by itself.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's telling us in the diagram that pin exists so that you know, if you look at the diagram. Are you stealing my box? You just took the box outside. So instead of the hard drive, so right now we've got the hard drive here instead of there. We've got it backwards.
Oh, we switched them.
See how that pin is all by itself? It says NC, that means no connection.
Which means we gotta switch around the order of the,
So we have the two that we hooked up, the hard drive and the reset. So reset's going to go just above where that little missing, where that standalone pin is. Right? That's what it's telling me.
yeah, that's what it
And
looks
what do
like.
we have there now? We've got the power LED there now.
Which would
So-
make sense as to
so-
why it's not working.
So actually, hold on, let me unplug it before we go any further.
Okay.
So here's how we're going to correct this. We're going to pull all these off.
Okay.
Okay. And what it's telling us, because it's not giving us the colors, it's just giving us black and white. So these colors aren't helping us at all. So if you look at the connectors here,
Yeah.
we know the reset switch has to go above.
Has to go on the
It's
green
going to go on the
ones.
green.
Okay.
The hard drive LED is going to go on the blue.
Okay.
The power LED is going to go on the green, and the red is going to be the power switch.
Okay.
Did you get that?
Yeah, let me see.
So unfortunately, the audience.
Power switch goes on the red. Does
Some
it?
people in the chat have known this all along and have been waiting for us to catch up to them.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
So power switch, and then pled plus would be power.
Pled?
That's what it says.
Power LED? PLED?
Yeah, pled.
Okay. Let's hook up the pled. It's hilarious.
And the positive goes in the back. Okay. Which means.
I wish I had a better angle. All anybody can see is your back, but we're just fixing the order of the cables.
Ooh, how am I gonna plug this in? There we go. And then the last one.
But again, what I want to emphasize is you don't have to fear mistakes. Stuff like this, it's pretty basic, simple. It doesn't cause any harm. It's not going to hurt anything. So it is a little humbling to make mistakes like that. The difference is most people make mistakes without a bunch of people watching them. So, yeah. So you'll get a bunch of people saying, I told you so, or something like that.
That's awful.
I'll do it to them too. It's all good. Who's the biker girl?
Biker girl?
I guess your jacket makes you seem like you're a biker girl.
Yeah.
This is my niece. Her name is Camille. She's building her very first computer to take back to college in Oregon.
It's the summary of the 4th time that I have been introduced.
Well, because we're live, we have people jumping in.
Yeah.
They don't even know what's going on. They're like, hey, what's going on?
I mean it in a good way.
Oh, Brytech is saying Happy New Year. It's not time for New Year's yet, Brian. I know London's ahead of us by about 8 hours, but not by 2 days. That 750 watt power supply was worth it. The fan will rarely spin, keeping noise low, and in a dorm room, that is a bonus. Thanks, Paul.
What did I do?
Brytech is saying Happy New Year, just in case I don't see everyone. Well, why wouldn't you see everyone, Brian? What are you, antisocial all of a sudden? Come on now. Carrie, are you on a live cam doing a New Year's thing? I don't think so, but I don't know yet. Probably not.
Oh, these, do they face out rather than in? Because I think I put them all in backwards.
There is no frontwards or backwards. There's only positive and negative.
Okay.
Right? So on a switch, positive and negative doesn't matter, but on the LEDs, it's critical. The positive wire goes in the proper place.
Okay. This is hard drive, so it goes plus this way.
If you get it backwards, the LED simply won't light up.
And in this one, it's the other way, but that's a switch, so it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And then power, power had plus and minus. Did I put plus there?
So what she's doing right now, we're adjusting the power switch, reset switch, power LED, and hard drive LED, because I instructed her to put them on the wrong way because this motherboard has them oriented differently than I'm accustomed to. They're in the same order, but they go on the connector starting from the other end. So it's a pretty minor little mistake, and it's very hard to film in there. So even if I move the camera, you guys still can't see what she's doing because her hands are covering the connector.
And I can't see what I'm doing for the
It's
same
even hard
reason.
for her to see. And she's got her light on, and she is doing her best to get in there. Again, this is why working on a mini ITX case is a challenge for, not recommended for a first-time build, because it is
there's
confined.
that, and plus minus. I think I did that right. And if I didn't, we can just go back in and fix it.
I'm not even going to double check your work.
Okay.
If you feel confident, that's good enough for me.
I don't, but if it doesn't work, I know exactly where to go.
Okay, let's try it and see. Let's go ahead and plug the power back in.
Let's see, there's that. And then turn it on.
Oh, Catherine says she's excited. You know, these are the parts she picked.
And the LED doesn't work anymore.
It shouldn't until you hit power. Then it should come on. That's cable management. That's your, no, you're pushing it towards the fan.
Oh, it was this fan that was struggling.
Was it? Because I saw it hit this fan.
Oh, maybe both.
Why isn't the CPU fan turning? Oh, there it goes. Now, the first boot, you need to be patient. And why don't you step a little towards one way or the other so people can see the screen? Are you going to take another box? Hey, hey! He's stealing my boxes. How are you going to get out the doggy door with that in your mouth?
I don't know, but I'm going to do it anyway.
We should have video by now. The fact that we don't... Oh, there it is. And he's gone.
Back.
We probably want that box back. I think you need the barcode. Was there a rebate on the video card?
I don't know.
Better find out before Shredder gets it. Yeah. All right, it says the BIOS has been reset. Please reconfigure your BIOS setup if needed. So this is a great power on self-test. This is what we wanted to see. Let me get your box back from the dog who has already ripped it in half in 2 seconds. Lyle, you stinker. Give me that. You stinker. I'll tell you what, this side doesn't...
Oh, the front fan isn't
it's playtime. Well, I don't think it had a rebate on it.
Hey there.
Was he looking for more boxes? He's decided it's playtime.
Oh, that's a lot of static electricity. That is not good.
So I'm going to just move this stuff over here. And he's taking Jimmy's food bowl. Lyle is just full of it today. You're just full of vinegar today, aren't you, boy? Here, Lyle wants to say hello. He's a ham. He likes being on camera. don't you, boy? Lyle, what are you doing? Do you want a cookie? Do you want a cookie? Look at that face. He's ready. Will you grab him a cookie out of the cookie jar?
Yeah, one of these?
Yeah.
Any preference?
Just grab one for each.
Okay.
Oh,
Wait. Here you go.
take it outside.
Wait. Here you go.
And there they go. So that should give us some peace and quiet for about 3 seconds. Okay, let's put this back. All right, now, here's where we're at. And here's where we're gonna stop for today. Am I on camera? I can't even tell
Yeah,
anymore.
you should be.
I should be. Here I am, okay. Oh, I still have the mouse hooked up over here. I'm trying to control the streaming computer and I'm like, why isn't... All right, so anyway, everything we've done so far, this confirms all the work that we've done correctly now. I don't know if that hard drive LED is gonna work, but we won't know that till we get the hard drives hooked up, but there's a good chance, since you have obviously the power switch and power LED in the right places, you've probably got the reset switch and the hard drive LED also in the right place.
Yeah.
We can test the reset switch. On this case, I think it needs like a little pen or something to push this in right here.
Oh, my
and see
fingernail
if-
worked.
There it goes.
but-
It reset. Yes, so one of these fans is, I think it's this one down here, is hitting. And what I'll do tonight, later tonight, is I will clean up some of this wire management. I won't do too much of it, just enough so I can get the camera in there, we can see. And I'll see if there's a newer BIOS for the motherboard. And I'll get it ready, but I won't do it. I'll wait till we're on camera to update the BIOS. Scooby2142 has contributed £5. Hey, thanks, Scooby. Your niece is going to college in my state of Oregon. That's cool. Thanks, Ray. Samuel Ramos says, great job, Camille. Well done to both of you. Nice instructional video. That's from Patrick McDonald. Brytech is taking off for the night. We're wrapping it up too, Brian. And of course, like I said, Brian's got his own YouTube channel, Brytech09. So be sure, if you're looking for more content, be sure and check out Brian's videos as well. They say you look too young to be in college.
I do look too young to be in college.
I look like I was 15 until I was 25. And now I look like I'm 60 when I'm, no.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is my age, I thought I would have a baby face forever. And what ended up happening as I got older, people started actually saying, oh, you look like you're about, and I was in my mid-30s, you look like you're in your mid-30s. So anyway, that's a Holzman thing.
Yeah, and I'm not particularly worried. Like, if I just hold myself in the right way, it ages me enough to appear like maybe I'm in college. But, eh.
€2 have been contributed by Two Guns. Says congratulations. Thank you for your contribution.
Oh, what's the BIOS?
The BIOS is the basic input-output system. It represents the screen that's up right now, and it keeps track of the date, the time, what kind of CPU you have, what hard drives are hooked up. It's the heart of the motherboard. When the motherboard first turns on, it's completely erased. There's nothing there. The BIOS guides it to what kind of hardware, the date, the time, that information. There's a little battery on the motherboard that keeps that information when the power's off or completely disconnected. There's a button cell battery about the size of a quarter. It's a CR2032 battery. Those are good for about 8 to 10 years on most motherboards. So nothing you should have to worry about. In the BIOS, again, or the CMOS, there's all these computer terms. I don't want to get too much into it, but basically, this is something you set up on your initial part of your build. For the most part, you can leave most of the stuff alone as is.
Okay.
I usually turn on temperature warnings that are optional in the BIOS. But for the most part, it's fully optional. You don't have to do that. The BIOS recognizes your CPU and addresses some issues with the operating system and compatibility. And so we want to make sure we have the latest BIOS to avoid any problems that they fixed between the BIOS you have, which was installed at the factory. We don't know how long it sat at the factory and was shipped. It sat in a warehouse before you finally took ownership of it. So there may be the latest BIOS already on here, or there may be 8 new BIOSes since. Now, we only have to download and install the latest one.
Yeah.
And it's a dangerous process only in the sense that if you lose power while it happens, or you put the wrong BIOS on the board is useless.
Okay.
So a lot of people are afraid of it because back in the day it was kind of iffy. Nowadays, as long as you don't lose power, it's pretty much going to work.
Okay.
So you may not have any problems with the version of BIOS you have, but the best problems are the ones you never had to begin with. So I do it as a preventive technique to have the latest BIOS. Obviously, if they're making this motherboard in the factory today, it's getting the latest BIOS today. Mm-hmm. So that's what we should have, and we should do that before we install the operating system.
Okay.
A couple more contributions have come in. Let me give some shout outs. You know what? This is going to drive me crazy. I need to hook this. I need to steal this back.
It's right
It's in the back, isn't
here.
it? And you see you got your LED lit up inside? Let's see if everybody can show everybody that. You got the LED lit up in there.
Ooh, that's pretty.
And I think you can turn the LED on and off in the BIOS if it's something that bothers you. Some people are into the LEDs and other people hate them. And let's see, Ryan James has contributed £5. Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for your contribution. Tommy Peterson's contributed $1. Thank you, Tommy. Thanks for your support. And Winston Ang Lu has contributed $5 Canadian. Andre Hernandez, who has contributed before, continues his generosity with a $20 contribution. Thank you, Andre. And Andre's also a moderator in the chat. I'm just looking through some of the comments we've made. Apparently Jimmy is drinking all the water and saving none for the fish. Catherine is saying, well done, Camille. Well done, Catherine, on picking the right part, picking the parts that fit the budget and the needs of the user. There's a whole discussion of people discussing how they look, how old they look compared to how old they are. I'm just looking through the comments. Some people are like, why is he looking off to the side? I've got a big screen over here. I'm kind of looking over at the comments. Andreas A has contributed €5. Thank you for the contribution. Steve Dickens has contributed $10. This is for her putting up with Carrie. Oh, she has no clue what putting up with Carrie means. She hasn't been here long enough in my company to fully appreciate the power of that statement. I hope you're going to ask your niece to do another build with you, Carrie. We're not even done with this one yet. However, we did get all the hardest part is all done, right? We just have a couple more cables to hook up. Mm-hmm. And then there's the whole software side, the operating system side, which mostly you put the disk in.
I'm familiar with because,
well, that's what you do.
I partitioned my laptop. It's a Mac, but I wanted to put Windows on it. Deleted the Mac side on accident, so reinstalling and restarting, operating systems is very familiar now.
Good. Now, it's still a little early. Mm-hmm. You know, the adrenaline's still fresh and the memory has just occurred. If you were offered an opportunity to build another one, is that something you'd want to do? And don't give me the answer you think I want to hear. I only care about honesty.
I don't like Arizona so far, but if I was in Arizona, I'd be interested because it's pretty fun.
What if you were in Oregon and a roommate said, or a friend of yours said, I've got these parts, I heard you know how to build a computer. Is that something you'd look forward to, or did you find this a chore?
I'd be like, I can try, but also if I accidentally break everything, that's on you.
Okay,
So,
fair enough. I say that now.
Yeah,
Yeah, all you can do is try.
yeah.
But it's not like something you'd run, like, hey, can you help me move? Oh, I'm busy.
Oh, I'm not that kind of person.
No, I'm saying it's a chore.
Oh,
Or is it fun? Building a computer.
yes and no.
Okay.
So it was fun. It was also like, okay, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, but I have the learning experience right now. So the learning experience is propelling me forward to go, hey, you know, even though it's mostly like connect this here, connect this there, I'm like, oh, this connects here and that's why this works, which means that that can do the thing.
Exactly.
So it's not necessarily something I'd seek out unless, you know, someone was like, hey, I have these parts, you can build a computer, like, let's hang out, or I don't know. But it's also not something that I'm like, this is awful and boring and why would I ever touch it again?
I gotcha. And the other thing, and I'll tell you where it's really going to come in handy, is you won't be afraid to open this up to fix it or upgrade it, because you have an intimate knowledge of how all of this goes together, and so you won't be intimidated by it. And furthermore, you don't sense it yet, but you will have a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment when you're using this to do your homework, when you're using this to help you graduate from school, when you're using this to help get your mind off of school and do some gaming, and knowing this thing that you're using so much you created with your own two hands. And that will kind of sink in over time, I think. For most people it does. And then that'll be the time really to follow up with you, is to kind of take a bigger scope. But I do like that sort of fresh reaction from people about, you know, some people are like, wow, that's the coolest thing in the world. Some people are like, yeah, take it or leave it. But because it's your rig, you're building it for you, that you will not be intimidated or afraid. You won't hesitate to open it up.
Yeah. I don't have an optical drive yet, but I feel fairly confident that if I do end up with an optical drive, I can either call and be like, hey, you know, I think I know how to do this. Can you like help me through it?
Or you can just buy an external USB optical drive.
That's what I have.
Yeah, and just use that. People generally only need it for installing a piece of software now and again. And even then, most people now are just doing everything off USB, or you know, if they're gamers, they're downloading the games with Steam, something like that. So, all right, I think that's going to wrap it up. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. We will be back tomorrow to complete the build. And for everybody who's contributed, I appreciate all your contributions. And of course, everybody who's watching, thank you for all of your support. And yeah, we've got the main rig the hard work is done. A couple more cables, some cable management, BIOS update, operating system, and you can head back to school and get back to work.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I will see you all again tomorrow. We'll both see everybody tomorrow.
They're asking like, what time do we?
What time tomorrow? I'm going to try and get started. I wanted to get started today about an hour and a half earlier than we got started. This is what happens. I'm going to try and get started around, let's just call it 1 o'clock. Let's call it noon Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. That's when I'm going to try and get started. So that's when you can start looking for the stream. And of course, if you subscribe to the channel, there's a little bell icon near the video. You need to click on that little bell and verify that you've got your notifications turned on. And what kind of notifications? Do you want text messages sent? Do you want an email sent? If you don't check those boxes, you will not get the notifications. So if you hit the subscribe button, or if you've already subscribed after the fact that you've subscribed, hey, you little thief. No, hey, you, give me that. Stinker. You stinker. Here's your box back.
Thank you.
Oh, and there's another piece of it over here. Lyle wanted you to have this.
Okay.
All right, so anyway, I'm going to try and get started around noon Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. I forgot what I was talking about before. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We will see you all again tomorrow. Until then, say it with me, bye for now.
Bye for now. Not with, but like.
Yeah, I like how you did the cadence, too.
Yeah.
Sounded just like me.